6:33 PM. Just a reminder, this meeting is being digitally recorded and videotaped. I think we're live too.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the only thing I'm supposed to say. Okay, first thing's the open session. There's no one here for open session. Ed is already on the agenda for something else. So we move on to approving the minutes. The minutes were sent to everyone digitally. And does anyone have any edits? I have one.
I have one. Let me see where that is.
Hey,
Hey, Yeah.
mine is the public hearing. Use that. Mine is the public hearing. Page 2, towards the bottom, it starts with the public hearing. The public hearing for the scenic road bylaw regarding Lot 7 Old Westminster Road, owned by Tom Cisco, was scheduled for July 11th. Tom would like to cut a piece of stone wall out. It's not the owner, should be the owner should write it, the owner. I don't think I wanna cut it, or maybe it was you.
no, it wasn't me.
That's all I had.
I had one. It's unclear to me on the bottom of the first page, May 31st, no comments, no changes, made a motion to accept it, all in favor. Then you go on and discuss changes. I believe the May 31st was only accepted after changes were made.
Okay, right, there were changes on that one, so
and
they
we-
just put the changes in.
Yeah, we made changes and I don't know if you made the changes.
I did,
I know, but where are they?
right here.
Oh, I gave her the changes.
I know, but when you make changes and approve it, don't you reissue the documents so that you can see if the changes were made?
Yep,
'Cause
I
it-
just did. We can do
Okay.
it now.
Oh, I don't care. You gotta, if it's an extra agenda item.
Right here?
Yeah, this is
Just
confusing.
that one line was, if she was here, should've been right below that, that's all.
Usually it's mended, usually you have to write in here that was the changes.
These are the changes you requested, and these are the changes that I made.
Okay, super.
But I'm not gonna restate them in these minutes, correct?
That's correct,
Right.
but this doesn't even look like the same meeting.
It's May 31st.
Well, there's a,
2018.
okay. The bottom of page 2. Oh, I see, you're accepting handwritten, okay.
I wasn't at this
She
meeting.
takes the handwritten change and she incorporates that into a new piece, a new meeting minutes, and then she posts those online.
Okay,
Otherwise, we're going back and forth with these minutes.
It's confusing if I post multiple minutes on the website, the ones that were modified versus the original. I think it's confusing. People are watching the video, they know what we discussed anyway.
okay, I'll stop.
Anyone
But
else?
my request is that on the ones we're looking at, June 20th, we strike the no comments, no changes and all that stuff because it should be discussion. And then it goes on to the next page and it's approved with changes. So I think
Right, you just have to delete that no comments and
I
no
would
changes.
delete the no comment, no changes, Tom Robbins made a motion, blah, 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 second, all in favor. That's all
Right.
gone.
Right,
And then you start with the May 31st and it starts with discussion.
right. So you wanna delete that,
Yeah,
I already got it here.
yeah.
perfect. Thank you. This is yours,
That's Patty's.
or Patty. This is mine.
Okay, I'll need a motion to
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
As
And
changed.
with change.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I gotta do that too. Unanimous. Everyone is here. You want me to sign this one?
I'll just sign this one and that way, this is my edits. I'll just stick them together that way.
There.
Yeah. Alrighty.
And you'll take.
Yeah, give me yours too, just in case.
Okay, meeting minutes. The town administrator is gonna come in when he gets a chance. He's meeting with the finance committee and he wants to go over, the planning board clerk when he comes back. So I'll just update you on a bunch of stuff that came in the mail this week, the last couple weeks. Patty had some I think I've emailed everyone on this stuff, just kinda enter it into the record. Some person, Lauren DeHaven, asked to get some information on opening a growing marijuana in the town of Hubbardston. Patty forwarded this to me, and I answered her, and guys basically got copies of what I said to her. Basically, I sent her the information and the zoning and the marijuana bylaw for her to look at, and she'd have to make a decision whether they'd go forward with it or not. So we've not received anything. I did invite her to come to the meeting tonight, but she obviously didn't come, so. The thing that Ryan told us tonight, this will be, we're getting ready for the meeting, that the Attorney General has already approved the marijuana bylaw. And
Our town vote?
our town vote has been approved. And the wireless communication tower change, that's been approved as well. And the definitions for the marijuana was changed, it's been approved. So the only thing
That was
that,
fast.
That was
week.
quick.
a week, cause Joyce just sent it in, we were down in the office helping Joyce get the paperwork together. And it was approved last week, sent in last week and
Wow.
approved. So, we're good to go, we're still waiting to hear on the solar.
Any more stuff you wanna,
We'll get to that.
okay.
I got copies of the commercial marijuana, bylaw, if anyone hasn't seen it or wants a copy.
You mean our bylaw?
Our bylaw, this is the one that's been approved by the town. And I get the solar one, which has not been approved yet. Those are those.
Tom, can I see that letter for the first one about the growing facility?
Was that from Lauren de Haven?
Hella Haven, yeah. I sent all that to you.
I didn't get what she wrote. I see
Oh,
your
yeah,
response.
that's right,
I didn't either.
yeah. Next thing is Gardner City Council rejected, the installation of a solar array in Gardner. I don't know, out of interest?
Yeah, that was gonna be a, what do they call it, overlay district?
Yeah, you denied it.
I know what it was, yeah.
Yeah, they rejected an overlay district.
Just got a little couple things.
Yeah, which one, which one?
That was the same as the email you sent out, right? That was
Yes.
an email.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The only other thing, the other thing here, another one thing that came up is, a lady from Keystone Consulting Group, a commercial real estate as service. They're an appraisal company, and she is working for the DCR, and she was interested in, whether or not it would be allowed in Hubbardston to put a solar array on the Wainwright property. And I basically sent her copies of the zoning bylaws, explained it. DCR isn't interested in putting a solar array on the property, they're interested only in the value of it. So when they're valuing it for the DCR to buy it, they have to find out what the fair market value is. So if it's allowable to put a solar array, they can use that
Up
as
the value or
up the
adjust the
value,
value.
adjust the value one way or the other. Which is a good thing for the town of Hubbardston, because if she does say that, the DCR has to pay the town of Hubbardston the fair market value for thing that could have gone on that property.
I think for best use.
And for best use, highest and best use, that's what
Yeah.
it's called. So if they do buy that particular piece of property, the town actually would get significantly more money, hopefully, because it's the highest and best use could be a solar farm, so, and there's quite a bit of money there. It's Keystone. One of the things Patty and I talked about this week, she
Okay.
has been getting lots of calls from people about putting solar arrays in Hubbardston. I mean, you get like 3 or 4 calls?
Yeah, but I was mistaken because a couple of them were from this company here,
Yeah.
so they weren't as many as I thought.
So there's several companies, but Bill says he had about 3 companies. Bill Murray said about 3 companies that were interested in doing it here.
Household? That's a picture of a house, is that?
Yeah, this is just he's looking at this for about solar arrays. But this is one of the companies, he's called, this guy named Tom Casey, is saying that he wants to do a large commercial place. Part of it's on residential, part of it's on commercial land. She didn't give us the address, so we don't really know. But because we're getting all these calls, Patty's asked me to write up a sheet for people we can email them. Say if you wanna do a solar array in town, then these are the steps you have to follow. So I'll try to have that for our next meeting. Kind of a, what do we call it?
Kind of like an info package,
Is-
so he's not repeating himself every
Yeah.
time with
Yeah.
the instructions.
Here's the
easier.
link to the bylaw, here's the
Well-
link to
Yeah.
the special permit
Well,
application
well-
process, et cetera.
Patty and I said we'll just create a file with all that stuff in it,
Mhm.
and they want information, she just has to hit send the PDF file, it'll have all the stuff there and.
Well, we gotta be careful that it's all inclusive.
Right, yeah.
But it will. Well,
Yeah, we'll put
make sure.
the solar bylaw, all the special permit
I
stuff.
mean, it's not
and-
an application package, it's really just a first step at communicating, cause otherwise Tom's calling all these people back with the same answers
Yeah,
every time,
yeah.
You
or
wanna
I
press
am.
send.
Yeah,
Right.
and then that,
Right.
even
Makes
if that
it
hits
easier, yeah.
90% of the questions, then the next conversation will be
Yeah,
a
my
lot.
only warning would be that the applicant has the obligation to explore everything thoroughly.
Oh, yeah,
If
that's,
it's on
oh,
a
we'll
scenic
just,
road and we
well-
didn't send in the scenic road law, then, you know.
yeah, well,
you
that's,
got- They have that obligation, but if you caveat it and say, here's at least a partial information
Yeah.
package to get you
Wouldn't it
going.
be better for the public to give them everything up front?
well,
Well, what's everything?
yeah.
You don't know where
You're
it
not
is,
the
a lot of
applicant.
it's
Well, we basically give them as
speculation,
much
speculative.
information as we can,
Right.
and I think Tom's right, put a paragraph at the bottom. This is only, it's up to the owner or the
Yeah.
applicant to make
This
sure
is-
they've got everything.
Yeah,
Because
But-
don't forget, there's a lot of stuff we don't cover DCR, you've got
Right, right.
building, you've got Board of Health, you've got a
Mhm.
lot of
Wetlands.
other,
Can you put that in a list, these are the areas you have to look at also?
like
Just
I
to give
do
them a
for
heads up?
building, like.
Well,
you'd
I'll bring
say
something
Mass
we can-
General laws.
I'll try to bring something for the next meeting and we can add whatever we want to it. But we don't wanna have such a huge file that
Right, right.
they
I
don't read it,
understand
yeah.
that.
So, it's basically what we did with the marijuana bylaw as well, because, we put that in the bylaw, these are the steps you have to take.
Right,
So this would be,
makes it easier for them.
well, it makes it easier for Patty and I.
And what
Oh,
we were
okay.
talking about is posting it on the new website too, so
Yeah.
they can even, maybe they can find it on their
Mm.
own, you know?
Because
Well,
a
that's a good idea.
lot of people just kicking tires,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
that's what they're doing, so. Okay, so is that one? And I was gonna put the scenic road violations that Craig, you've, and you've found. We'll put that, if you can make a list of those for the next meeting. So, I don't wanna forget about it. I didn't wanna put it on tonight's agenda, cause there's quite a bit of stuff. So,
Me too, right?
You want a list from us
Old
of
Hudson
possible scenic road violations?
well, yeah, if you have, anyone can, but Craig's been
Yeah.
driving around town looking for them.
It's almost the whole new Westminster Road.
I can help you with that if you wanna come in and.
Yeah, no, I can write them down.
Yeah, and then we have to figure out what we wanna do. Now, that scenic bylaw is in place, cause that was a general bylaw,
Right.
correct?
There's no grandfather.
There's no grandfathering in it, so we gotta figure out how we're gonna handle it. It's brand new if someone's done it. I mean, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable trying to find people for,
Right.
we don't even know if it was done before the bylaw or after the bylaw.
I sent out my first violation letter this week, so I guess we can see
See
how
how
that
it goes.
goes and
To
then,
whom, for
To
what?
who?
it was, I'm sorry, I don't,
Old Princeton Road?
Yeah,
Was it Scenic Road?
60 Old Prince, yes, it was it was a driveway
Yeah.
cut, yes, it was
There was
60.
one.
Old Prince.
There's some on Hale Road too, you said too, right?
Yeah, yes. I haven't seen those, but somebody said there were a few.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week. You have to get in front of it. You can't write them a letter after they blow through. You gotta have
Prob-
somebody tell them that you can't blow through until you go through a process.
Well, hopefully, the highway department will have a better handle on that now.
I think it's Concom. If they come in and say they want a wetlands determination, check, it's on a scenic road. I
Travis
think
is
it's-
already driving a campaign, not to interrupt you, but a huge campaign to get Board of Health, Building, and Concom all on the same page
Mm-hmm.
about anytime any new project, even before a perk happens, we hand them a scenic road or a driveway permit.
I
He
agree with them
really is-
completely, and we
That's
gotta
awesome.
do that. Board of Health is the same deal.
Mhm.
If they're
Yeah.
coming in to get a septic permit, you gotta tell them.
Here's the list of things you gotta
And
go through.
we also talked about telling the realtors.
Yeah,
that
that's a
they-
good idea, because just sitting
they're-
on the
They
piece
should
of
have
wood.
it on the listing.
Mm.
Any listing in Hubbardston should have a scenic road checkbox down at the bottom.
The problem, a lot of times, a lot of those folks don't follow through what they're supposed to, which becomes a problem. I've seen that many
You
times.
can't keep them from
No,
breaking the
no,
law,
you're right,
but you
you're
can,
right.
you can tell them ahead of time that if they do, they'll break the law.
Right.
And then you don't feel so bad about fining them.
Okay. We'll do this Borrego one, when we do Borrego. What's this?
That is the Gardner News for Vince.
Okay,
Scenic Road.
Okay.
Where do you want this file?
I'll just stick it back in here. I'm putting a file of every meeting, separate file folder, so I have everything.
Idea.
Town of Rutland, this is a notice of a filing a decision with the town clerk. That's been, read that. This is a bill from the Gardner News for $100.50 for the legal notices for the ad for the special hearing that's coming up next week.
By the way, I haven't gotten any checks from anybody for the permit, I mean, the application or for this, so.
I thought when he
just,
came in, was gonna give you a check, did he?
he didn't give me any.
Okay, well, we'll collect that next time.
Okay, I just wanna let you know.
We'll give him the,
Nah.
we'll give him a bottle. Okay, so if everyone's okay with this, take a look. And then this is a gentle reminder, I think, from KP Law
Yeah.
about the money we owe 'em
Yeah.
for the Marinelli pit, the town of Hubbardston. That's the amount.
We did something with that.
We did, that's been approved about at the town meeting,
Oh, that's right.
and it's just correspondence that came in.
Formality.
It's kind of an end of the year, I
Well-
think.
Yeah, they're
we're
trying to
close
get their
there.
money before they know the end of the year's coming and they wanna get paid.
Right.
But it's been approved by town, at town meeting, and Lori
Bartkus.
Bacchus, said she'd take care of it, make sure the check went out before the end of the year. Patty and I worked with her on that.
Patty? We're looking at this associate member, no, not associate member, administrative assistant position. Do you have a job description for your present position?
No.
Really?
You have
I mean,
nothing?
I never looked for one. I'm winging it,
Yeah.
can't you tell?
Well, no, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm
No,
trying
no.
to say, in fact, the criticism should fall on us if we have a clerk and we haven't
Nobody ever-
provided the position description and requirements and whatnot.
There may
That's
be
our
one
fault.
online that I could probably find from maybe when
Well,
Lucinda.
we got a
was-
June 2018 one to look at when
Yeah, I
Ryan-
read
Wayne,
that.
Ryan comes in, but I was looking for what's in effect right now, you know, cause this looks pretty new and maybe even amplified a little bit.
I don't know. Got those back.
He covered everything in Ryan's.
So,
I
Hopefully it's gonna be addressed here in about 10 minutes. That goes to you. Where did you put this money in? This has to be under, revolving account. Revolving account.
Expensive, right?
No,
The receipt
not planning,
account.
no, it's revolving account.
Okay.
We'll look at that later. We'll wait till Laurie comes back.
I was gonna leave it blank and let her fill it in.
No, we're
Just-
gonna, this is, will be our first one. Just so you know, Patty and I and Laurie have been working on trying to, we brought this to the board, I think, before other people came in on the board. We're trying to figure out where the money's supposed to go and what account it's supposed to go into. And, we haven't got everything nailed down yet. We're just going back and forth. The accountants have to change, was it 32 entries into the system? They have to, virtually every one of them has to be changed except for 2. So, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just a misunderstanding. Bill Murray let us know about this 53G account, which no one in the town even knew about before. So all those Borrego ones all have to go through the 53G account per Mass General Law. So we're getting that straightened out, and I think Laurie said she's gonna give me at least 2 hours next Thursday when she's back from vacation. But she has to get these things done by July 16th. That's her deadline, so
Oh,
all
wow,
the,
good, that's good though.
so we're gonna try to start off with 0 balances and everything, or, you know, there's not gonna be balances, so that's why we're bringing all those to the committee. And before we sign off on it, we know exactly which account is going to. Now, if you've read the emails that I sent everyone, that on the Borrego projects, the 3, the Gardner Road project, and the Williamsville Road project, and the Old Westminster Road project. All of those projects, I got from Borrego all the money that they sent to town, and when they sent it, which project it was for, and I've got all the bills that, places has sent to us for it. So now it's like it's been a big puzzle. So
We have
now
the
we're
same
able
problem
to.
with the Board of Health office, files and accounts.
Yeah, so now we can, we have but that's most of the transactions, I think,
Right, yeah,
was
that's
Borrego.
right.
So, but once we get that, it's gonna be easy now to get them straight. We didn't have a good handle on what either one of us did, so we're in pretty good shape with that now, so.
Oh, that's good.
When Laurie comes back, hopefully we'll have that sorted out.
I have a decommissioning spreadsheet, and it shows, this is as of around March, I think.
Right,
All the money was sitting there, and it's the right amounts.
right, we know where the money is. It's just.
I believe it's in Unibank.
Yep, we don't, yeah, you sent that to me, and I used that. So we know the money is here, and we know who gave us the money and what it's for, but the ownership of these things have changed. When a solar farm is sold, the ownership of the decommissioning fee has to stay with the original owner. So technically, and this has been explained to me by
Now, you're
the
using the word owner, not applicant, or Borrego, or the owner?
owner of the facility, not the owner of the land. The owner of the facility, just to give an example, one of the Gardner Road projects was, they gave the town as a decommissioning fees, Borrego gave the town $55,000. Borrego has sold the facility to a third company. Now, that money is with the town treasurer under Borrego's 04 number or business account number. So they actually own that money. We can only access this money if they don't decommission it properly. Then we have the legal right to go there and take it and fix it. But they actually own that money. So now that they've sold this facility, they still own the money. The new owners have to come in and give us a check for $55,000 and give us their 04 number, and then they own the money, and we have to give Borrego's money back to them. Now, you could say, well, it's kind of silly creating, writing 2 checks just in and out. The Borrego's attorneys, from what Bill Murray has told me, are working on a form that they can just sign over ownership of that. But we haven't got there yet. town administrator is aware of it, and we're gonna work on that next week. It's very important,
Yeah,
because Borrego could come in back in 5 years and say, I want my 55,000,
Right.
and we have to give it to them.
well.
We don't have to, but I mean,
Yeah,
it becomes a real problem.
a long time ago, we issued a letter, I think we issued a letter of instruction to, the treasurer to not give any money out without the planning board's approval.
Right.
We might just remind, because there's been treasurer changes and
Oh, yeah.
administrator changes, we
She's,
might issue such a letter again.
she's well aware of it, and Ryan's really aware of it. So,
But it's
I-
not just solars, it's any surety bond.
well, yeah, any surety bond, yeah. So that's kind of where we'll go over the Borrego stuff about the Gardner Road projects when it comes up on the agenda, but, this is really important that we need to get some protection for the town, so.
Along these same lines, was there any appeal filed on 147?
There was no appeal filed on 147.
I heard a rumor that they thought the money for the surety was high, and while higher than other jobs, it wasn't more than 5% higher, 6% higher, so, all
We'll get to that when we get to the agenda,
right.
okay? What else we have? Oh. Patty gave this to me, and I lost it till about an hour ago. Ryan wants the planning board to give them a monthly report of what we've been working on in the last month, and what our
Monthly?
monthly report. And what's the other?
Where
one?
does it go?
Oh, goals. Just
And
Ryan.
And our goals,
Well, alright, keep going.
and what goals we wanna pursue
For the next month,
for the next month.
how I
So-
understand it.
I think we should enter that into our meeting minutes and provide him the meeting minutes. That's the only document that is our legal presentation. When you start filing reports in parallel with meeting minutes, you get confused. That's my strong recommendation.
Well, Ryan's gonna be coming in a little bit, we'll ask him about it. Does that sound good?
Very good.
Just bringing the.
It won't change my strong recommendation, but.
Well, it doesn't matter, yeah. No, I just wanna,
You don't run two books.
anyway, I just wanna bring that up so everyone's aware of it.
Do
I'm
you
trying to
wanna
keep you
read?
guys informed of
I
everything, so,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Do you wanna read what I published so everybody knows?
No,
No, okay.
cause it's just,
Stuff there.
it's,
Was something provided?
no, she gave this to me, she wanted me to put our
Oh.
goals down, we're gonna be working on tonight anyways. But, no, it's not that it's not important, it's
Gotcha.
just, we'll deal with it later. Okay, it's 7:00-ish.
You want to, I know Ryan's on vacation, so I don't know whether you.
No,
want-
Ryan's in the next room.
You say he's gonna come in when he's done?
He's on vacation this week, though. He came in for these 2
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
Ryan said when he's done, he'll come in and just wait till the next item, so.
Well, I don't wanna, if he comes in, I'm more than willing to let.
Well, you're up, Ed, you're
Yeah.
the agenda.
Yeah,
You're on,
but
it's
if
7
he
o'clock.
comes in, I'm more than willing to, back off and let him do his thing and go back to vacation. Thank you for your time this evening.
Okay.
I came to talk about, the solar farm bylaw and the marijuana bylaw. You have any preference which one you'd like to do first?
I didn't know solar was on here.
I didn't either, but that's okay.
Let's do marijuana.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
That's the agenda.
As some of you know, I spoke at the town meeting, and I understand the need for the town to be able to pass a bylaw so that we had something on the books such that we'd be protected from an open scenario where we didn't have any bylaw. So I guess what some of my concern is our control in Hubbardston of where this all could happen, and do we have any control over the number of marijuana growers we have or could have. It's gonna be allowed in all districts, And I question whether we would really wanna have that grown in the, town district. It's so small and certainly is in the center of our town. So I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. The other is, all the other ones other than residential is, in the residential areas by special permit.
Everything is by special permit.
I think in residential, they have a right to grow without a special permit.
No, that was changed at town meeting.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Changed at town meeting, there's nothing allowed by right.
Okay, so that,
That one was changed, by right to only by special permit.
okay. All
And
right.
that was approved by the Attorney General.
Okay, could I have a copy of the new one?
Don't we
If-
have the
if you-
law right
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
If you have a spare?
Here is the Article 22, commercial marijuana establishments. Why don't
Thank
we keep
you.
one set so we can look at it?
I know it by heart, excuse me.
Scott, could I ask you to press print on that and just get a copy?
As far as the number of, answer your question about the number, there is no limited number on the number of facilities are allowed in town. You can do that in the marijuana the general law for allowing marijuana. You can limit the number. You can't limit it to below 20% of the number of alcohol distributors in town. So we would have the minimum that we could put in town would be one, and obviously the maximum is none. When we originally, it was too bad you weren't here because we had like 9 or 10 meetings about this and we worked really hard all winter long.
Yeah, I was down south.
Yeah. So anyways,
Thank you, Scott.
we originally had that in there. We were limiting the numbers, but it went to town attorneys, and the town attorney said that if we started trying to limit the number, we'd have to, it wasn't good to do that, and we would have to go to the ballot with the whole thing. So, based on town attorney's recommendations, we took those out.
Well, let's let Ed present.
Well, I'm
We're
giving some
taking his
background on
time.
why it happened.
No, that's just background, because that certainly is part of my concern from a planning standpoint is that we really don't have any control from a standpoint of if everybody comes and follows a special permit process and qualifies, then certainly anybody could grow 5,000 square feet anywhere in Hubbardston.
That's the law that the people approved.
That's a law that was presented to the people and they approved it, yes.
Well, they actually modified on the town floor.
Say again?
It was modified at town meeting.
Modified by that one change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I think, one of the things I see is that in all of the planning board surveys and that, the number one concern of all people in Hubbardston is protecting rural character. And, I know we've been an agricultural community for a long time, and you can take a look at growing marijuana, I guess, as agricultural, if you wish. But I think that could definitely change the character of Hubbardston. There are issues such as, so now I sit on my 2 acres with my family and my next door neighbors puts in 5,000 square feet. The issues become, how do you control that from a standpoint of being stolen by youth and being able to go into, let's say we have 100 people that grow it in town. So now we got that amount of, how do you control people, how do you contain the growth of that and keeping it so that it doesn't get stolen by other people or get in other people's hands or
I can answer that for you, Ed. The Cannabis Control Commission has about 27 pages of, well, there's actually 71 pages of regulations on how you can handle this. For anyone to do that, there's a specific set of regulations and procedures that they have to go to prove that they can protect this area. They not only have to prove it to the planning board and the special committee and the police chief, they have to prove it to the Cannabis Commission, and they're the ones who will approve their plan or not
Is
approve
that
it.
the State Cannabis
It's
Commission?
the State Cannabis Commission.
So
They
it
can
is-
revoke a license anytime they want. And this was all vetted through the police chief. He was totally involved in the decision making and
And he felt comfortable
He
that that
felt-
wouldn't be a problem
right.
in town at all?
Right?
Well, you have to read beyond the town laws. You have to read the state laws.
I didn't bring my marijuana book with me, but there's so many, the law is like.
So basically, we have a general marijuana bylaw that refers most of everything to the state
Yes.
rules and regulations.
If you read the bylaw, that's what it says, yeah.
So, in that booklet, there's things that say how people have to make sure that their 5,000 square feet is,
The 5,000 square feet, just from memory, because I don't have it in front of me, the 5,000 square feet has to be completely fenced in. It has to have security cameras at all corners, has to have security cameras at the gate, has to be completely blocked from the neighbor's view. It can't be disruptive to traffic or any of the neighbors. Has to be at least 50 feet, I think, from each property boundary, and at least.
side setbacks are different than our
Yeah, I think so.
setbacks.
Don't quote me on that, but it's very
Well,
similar.
it's Massachusetts General on 94G.
Yeah, look it up. I mean, it's very, very
It
specific.
says right,
It's right in the bylaw.
Yeah.
Are you saying we can't discuss this, you'd rather have me go read it?
well, he's going from memory, and he might not cover everything. He did-
Well,
I think
no,
he did a
I thought we
great
were having a
job,
general
but-
conversation.
But anyways, if you read, everything is covered in that. When the planning board just started discussing this, and we started discussing this last September, I think it was. And, Scott, you went to a couple meetings as well, cause you were on the planning board at the time. We went to meeting, I went to, I don't know, unbelievable number of meetings about this. We investigated it a lot.
The administrator went with you.
The town administrator
Couple
went
times.
with a couple of them, Brian Bullock went to one of them with me. It was a pretty involved thing, and we came to the conclusion that because it's so new, in 5 years, if nothing changes, we can revisit it anytime we want. But we're thinking in 3 or 4 or 5 years, it'll have developed enough to the point that we kinda know what's gonna happen, and other towns will experiment.
You can look at Colorado right now, that's been more than 5 years
Yeah,
in California.
so
Yeah.
from the planning point of view, we're just kinda saying,
Risk.
let's get something in place. We're gonna rely heavily on the Cannabis Commission, and if you read the news, they're not being real easy to do business with, I don't think. They're not just approving people willy-nilly, they're really putting people through their paces. And in the process, if you read the law, but you have to read the regulations, the 71 pages of regulations,
Okay.
it's very, very strict. I mean,
I will, I'll go ahead and do that. 'cause
and we
that-
felt comfortable, because of all the unknowns, using the regulations to lean on until things get more
Yeah.
developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some communities have actually voted not to allow that to be in their community. So that can be done also within
Sure.
the state.
If you'd like to do that, Ed, to put a petition together and get people to sign it and try to get it approved, that'd be great. But the reason why we didn't go, one of the reasons why we didn't go that route was 85% of the people voted at that election, they registered
How many
voters in
people?
town. Of the registered voters in town, 85% of the people voted, okay, and 55% voted for it. So the people of this town said that they wanted marijuana establishments in this town.
I think a little bit differently on that. I think 55% of this town voted to allow it to be a state regulation, which is different than 55% of the people said that it should be allowed in Hubbardston. Two different votes.
Well, I would agree with you, it's more a semantics thing, except in that vote for the to allow it to be sold in town, was said they could establish stores in cities in town. That was actually part of the initiative petition, so
Mm.
we could just say we're both right, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The majority of the people voted for it. This board is elected by the people of this town, and that was the will of the people of the town, so we felt obliged to tell to whatever the people of the town voted for, we wanted. Now, if someone wants to bring a petition to the town to change that, it's entirely up to them to do it.
Okay. I was gonna request that the planning board see if they wanted to take any action regarding that, and, you know, certainly the other alternative is to do a citizen petition, just to make sure that the people in Hubbardston definitely wish to have this in their community.
Well, when 85% of the people vote in a general election and 55% of those people said they wanted it, that's what, as far as I'm concerned. I voted against it, and I don't disagree. I don't necessarily want it in town, but by the same token, I work for the people of this town. The people of this town voted for something, and I think it's my obligation.
I think the votes are a little bit different, though, but we said that, you know, I think they voted to allow it in Massachusetts. I don't think that what they voted for specifically said, and also in Hubbardston. And you might find that the vote might be different, but.
We also had public hearings,
One public hearing.
or a public hearing.
I'm surprised, Ed, because you've always been pro-business. This is like your first anti-business stand I've ever seen.
Oh, I don't see this as anti-business.
You don't? Town could make huge
I
amount
see
of
this
money.
has more social implications for our town than business implications.
This could bring in-
And you know what? When someone says they're pro-business, doesn't mean they're pro-business for everything and every type. I mean, look at the asphalt plant that might have come. That's not in the interest of, so just because someone may be lean toward pro-business doesn't mean that they would allow any particular business, regardless of what it was, come to town. And, you know, so I think if we're gonna pick our businesses, we have to pick them wisely, because I think that's what the survey says. The survey says, yes, we could perhaps have more businesses of the nature that we'd like to see in Hubbardston, which is spelled out in the survey a little bit. But, and certainly heavy industry isn't one of them, and we've never allowed that, because, you know, I worked on the master plan in 1989, I think, and that, and spent some time on the planning board, and, so, you know, just because someone might be more pro-business, it doesn't mean any business.
How about liquor stores?
We have two.
I think we can have 3. I don't know.
Well, we have
Those are
probably
regulated.
4 establishments that sell.
Those are
beer.
regulated by, state law too, and the number you can have is controlled. And I guess that's what my concern is, that we don't really have any control as to how many people might grow marijuana in our community.
Well,
Could be 100, could be 1,000. And maybe it's gonna, maybe if all those 55% of people voted for it decided to take out a permit, we might have a lot more exposure than.
or it could be none.
Than would be.
Well, it's the difference between personal and business.
Personal, you can grow 12 plants personally or for family without any permit.
So now if you take that one step further and you say, okay, we allow for home businesses, then does that mean that anybody who basically grew the 5,000 could have a home occupation business?
No, they can't, because it's controlled by the Cannabis Commission.
And if they allowed home, I mean, we allow home businesses in Hubbardston.
You can't, the Cannabis Commission controls any commercial growing of marijuana. An individual by right, in that, as the law was passed, can grow 6 plants for their own personal use or 12 plants per family. Okay, they can't sell it. If they do this commercial, say a 5,000 square foot outdoor cultivation only grower was done, that grower would have to sell to a distributor. It'd have to go to a testing laboratory, it has to be tested, and then it would be sold through a distributor to a retail outlet. They cannot sell out of their, they can't sell it like they sell eggs.
So it can't be a home
It can't be a home
occupation.
occupation
Yeah,
business.
I just, I'll give you those. Those were just articles that I happened to read in the Gardner News on the issue.
Yep. I see a
Okay,
lot of
thank
it.
you for that. On solar farms,
We're going a little over here, Ed, because we didn't have the solar farm on here. Is it quick or is it?
Yeah, it's quick, it's basically pretty much the same thing. But I think when I asked to speak the first time, it was on both issues, but
Oh, well, whatever.
I could have called to, because I looked at the agenda. So 20,000 square feet or more, which is about a half an acre. And these are in all districts too, by special permit,
Mhm.
and even in the town center.
Mhm.
And, you know, I know it was discussed at the town meeting about the screening level being 1.5 in height higher than the solar panel. So if the solar panels are 2 feet off the ground, then you'd have a 3-foot plant.
Mhm.
That doesn't block any visual of the whole solar farm.
Well, you're
All
not-
the solar farms we have in town, you can see.
Those aren't under the old regulations. First off, it'd be almost impossible to put a solar panel 2 feet off the ground. It'd have to be laying flat on the ground and it wouldn't be really effective. They have to be at a certain, I think it's 60-degree angle or 70-degree angle, and the panels are 6 feet long. So the minimum it could actually be, if they put it right on the ground, would be probably 4 or 5 feet.
So now you're looking at 8 foot.
8 foot, but
7.5.
you're not reading the whole bylaw, because the bylaw says it also has to be completely screened from view. And the minimum they can have to be is 1.5% high.
So the
it's-
solar farms
well-
we have in town now, didn't have to apply, this is a new
This
regulation.
is a new regulation.
This is an 8-year-old law. We changed it because people came to us for 3 reasons. They wanted to make sure we weren't introducing materials that might be hazardous when they were used or decommissioned. They wanted to make sure we had enough money in the kitty to decommission them. And they wanted the visual impact improved. That's what this did. It's an 8-year-old law, and we changed some things to it.
There's no way we can change it on the old ones? There's no way they can update it?
We have, like the one across from, on Williams Road, or from Scott's house, we are gonna address,
Giving the example of
Yeah.
what not.
we're gonna change we do have an opportunity in there. The old bylaw said that they have to be screened from view, but it wasn't specific. This new bylaw, it is screened from view, it's very specific of what they
Right.
have to do, it's very, technical, this is what you have to do. With the old ones, I've been talking to Bill Murray about that, there's things we might be able to do, and we're gonna try those.
Oh, good.
And when that comes up at our meeting, we'll kinda go over that.
We
Is it
can,
negotiable upgrade?
we can definitely enforce the conditions of the special permit.
Whatever the existing
And-
special permit is,
There was a special permit issued on your particular case, 91 Williamsville.
right, so we are gonna address that in the next, probably in the August meeting, so. As far as, one of the changes that we made in there, Ed, which was critical, is it used to be that solar farms were allowable in all districts by right. And that's been changed to only by special permit. And
Well,
that's a significant change.
Does the planning board feel that we have control over this? Cause basically what you're doing is, I decide to put a 20,000 square foot solar farm on my house lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I've just taken a residential parcel and made a commercial use out of it.
Right,
So now you're changing our total zoning so that if everybody decided to take their residential lot and do a 20,000 acre solar farm, you've just rezoned Hubbardston to be commercial. And that's
Well,
that's what I
think
really would like
disagree
to
with you.
have the.
That's not,
well,
that's
just
not what's happening.
1 second here on this, because one of the things that is, by Mass General Law says we can't zone these things out. So we have to fit in a slot between what Mass General Law says and what zoning will be allowed.
But you have control over the zoning because you're the planning board, and
Mass Gen-
and to allow someone to take a commercial use and put it on a residential parcel
8
goes
years
against
ago,
our basic
that
zoning.
law existed.
Huh?
8 years ago, that law existed.
I don't care how long it's existed.
Well, where were you? I mean, this has been a condition for 8 years.
Well, you're just
We
increasing
expressed
the,
it,
you
no,
just,
we didn't increase
We
it.
actually reduced it.
We reduced it. We
To 20,000?
It used to be expressed as a kilowatt. and we've expressed it as a land mass.
Or a kilowatt.
Well, you take a look at the ones that have been built in residential areas, now you've just changed those to be commercial.
No, we haven't changed it to be commercial. There's no language in here that says you change it to commercial.
Well, certainly if it's a, if it's a solar farm and it's generating income and also income to the town, that to me would suggest that it's a commercial operation in a residential area.
Well, there's not a whole lot the town can do about it, because it's Mass General Law says that they can be allowed anywhere like that. And you can try to rezone the town you can't zone them out. You can't say they're not allowed only in commercial places.
You can do an overlay district. Towns have done an overlay district,
looked-
and they also have done it, overlay districts on the marijuana as well.
As I told you before about
Yep.
this, and at the town meeting, in order for us to do an overlay district, we would have to do a many thousands of dollars worth of engineering to find out where the overlay district could actually be, because much of Lake Hubbardston is very, very rural, and a lot of the lines aren't capable of handling the loads of a solar farm. So it would be up to the town of Hubbardston to spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to figure out where we could put an overlay district, and it would take years to do,
And now those
If-
costs are burdened on the applicant,
the applicant.
Right,
not on the town.
But the whole thing is, you know, how do you allow commercial to be in residential areas? And it's controllable. I mean, you have a right to take a look at that, and I guess that's what I'm asking of the planning board, is would you take a look at that in your future agendas as to why we should allow commercial to be in our residential district?
Well,
You
and-
What
can-
if a
you can-
person sells
we-
vegetables?
Say again?
What if a person sells vegetables?
That's agricultural, and that's allowed in the residential district,
So that's okay, a commercial is in a residential. But this kind of commercial
because
is
it's
not allowed.
agricultural.
Well, I know.
Okay,
Well,
we're
it's a
kinda,
difference.
we're just kinda straying away here, so, the point is, Ed, again, we worked on this since when Lisa Durant came in, she came in last,
Well, we worked on this since 2010.
well, we came, recently, we had a petition by 100 residents to change the solar bylaw. You weren't here, you were in Florida for what, 7 or 8 months?
Yep.
So, we worked on this for pretty much 8 months. We explored every possibility that we could possibly explore. Based on the time that we had, we consulted with the state government, saying what we can do and what we can't do, over-regulating. You can't over-regulate it, you can regulate it as much as you can. The biggest thing we've done is take it out of the being by a special permit and by right. We took that right away from people, which I'm not real excited about taking people's rights away, but we felt that was one way we could control it. And with these changes that were suggested, all those changes that were suggested by residents of town to change it, those changes were all pretty much told to us as what the people in the town wanted to be changed, so we changed it. That's where it came from. If you wanna sit there, Dad, I mean, you're putting a lot on this planning board. We worked really, really hard on both the marijuana and this one. If you wanna come up with changes, if you wanna say, I'd like to propose something different, just like those people did on that solar bylaw, we'd be more than happy to look at it and work with you on doing it.
I guess
Right.
that's what I'm asking you this evening is, would you just take a look at the sole factor that you're gonna allow commercial business to be in a residential district,
That's-
which means,
That's a misstatement, Ed. That is
Yeah.
totally a misstatement.
why is that?
Because it's not considered a commercial venture. It's
When
considered a
you generate electricity and
Richard
sell
Richard
it,
Haddad has a post with a solar system on the back.
Okay, we're going around in circles,
Yeah,
so
okay.
we're good. So if you'd like to
No,
present,
I
no,
can't-
the discussion's over pretty much. If you'd like to present an article, or would you like to present some ideas to the planning board at a future meeting, we can. Or if any member of the planning board would like to present something at the meeting, we'll look at it,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
I think that's a fair.
How would any homeowner feel, who just bought a new house in Hubbardston and all of a sudden thought they were in a residential district and had a 20,000, half an acre solar farm next
Well,
door?
Yeah,
And,
well, Ed,
and if you don't think that, let me finish.
no, you're not gonna finish that. That's,
I'm gonna
Ed,
finish.
Ed, please, you're done. I'm done,
been-
you're done. This discussion is over, okay? we're,
If you don't think that's gonna not
The-
change the rural character of Hubbardston,
Ed,
I
please.
feel it is.
please, I'm
done,
asking
too.
you politely to stop, this discussion is over, we can move on to the next thing. Thank you. Mr. Town Administrator, you're up next. Sorry, you guys are here for the application for the associate member. We told the town administrator, since this is his vacation, that we'd come in and he could sneak in before you guys or someone else.
There's nothing I'd rather do than spend the night with you guys.
Thank you
you,
for
I
coming back.
Oh, absolutely,
Thank
not a problem.
Alright, so, first news from the town clerk today that the, wireless bylaw and the two marijuana-related bylaws, passed through the AG's office today. So those are now, Hubbardston zoning bylaws. Just interesting news. I'm here to discuss the planning assistant or planning administrative assistant, whatever title we choose. So primarily would like to do this, once, would like to hire a person that fits the needs of the planning board, that, allows you to function in a way that increases the viability of development in our town and also protection of zoning bylaws and, just what the planning board wants. We had a bit of a plan and it changed a little bit at town meeting, so I just wanna make sure, I'm doing what's in the planning board's interest. So I sent a job description, an updated job description that we plan to use in this hire, and wanted to talk about hours, public hours, and others with the board.
Great. I read your job description, I thought it was pretty complete, more complete than I thought it would have been. Do we have currently have a job description for a planning board clerk?
This was adapted from the land use clerk position, which
Okay, there
was
was
a
one.
hybrid.
Okay, I didn't know we had one of those.
So this would be a full separation of the two,
Right.
the what we'll be calling a building assistant and
Mhm.
now the planning assistant.
So what hours were you thinking of doing? What are you asking us to do? Are you asking us to tell you what we think the hours should be? You said 13 hours. What do you want?
Is it 12, eh?
I have it listed as 12.
Oh, 12, sorry. So 12 hours.
That's a fair wage analysis from 11.5, which was appropriated by town meeting.
Okay. So you're gonna hire a new person? Patty's not gonna do that, I assume?
Well, that's what the board discussed at town meeting, was needing their own, I think, not to paraphrase Vin, but their own clerk.
Right. Okay, so you're ready to start hiring someone, or?
Ready to go, yeah.
Ready to go. What hours do you want them to work, or do you want, is there a restriction on the hours from office space and telephone and computer issue?
There's restrictions on office space in the entire town.
Yeah, I know that, yeah, but it's
But
like,
this is not a new seat.
Well, it would be now, yes.
it would be a new position, new person.
It's always been shared in the past.
It's been shared the last 5 or 6 years, it's been a shared
Yeah.
position, so,
Well, but the same seat was never occupied by two people at the same time.
Which means that.
The hours were staggered such that if they were two people, they could be two people.
You mean in the same workspace?
Yes.
yeah, can we put two people in the
So
same?
one of the difficulties with that is
Oh, I know there's a lot
sharing
of difficulties.
workspace is not an easy thing to do.
I
It's-
know there's difficulties, but space isn't a reason not to do it. We'll find space. We can go over there and rearrange some things, and we can find space.
So included in that should be the idea that this is a person who we want to retain, we want to have a certain appeal towards providing the type of service that you need. So one of the considerations that I'm making or asking the board is what are the expectations for this position? What does the planning board need so that this person can have clear expectations, enough space to work, and to be satisfied enough with their employment to stick around and do a good job? So we could stick someone somewhere, but that's not my goal.
Okay.
I'm
What do you,
sorry-
go ahead, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't have any, real history with the folks meeting with the openings for the board. But Patty's been doing it for a little while too, wouldn't that, her opinion, help on that?
They've had my opinion. But
Well, we need someone,
So
To-
I'm not, this is from trying to pull from discussions on town meeting floor. At town meeting, it was said we need more hours, more time to do the functions of the planning. Just so I know for sure you needed meeting coverage, because we discussed this during the budget process.
Right.
Meeting coverage and minutes is essential. But what is needed for public hours and what is expected of this employee?
okay, gotcha. I understand now. The meeting minutes, and someone to write up the meeting minutes, coming to the meetings and the meeting, writing up the minutes is critical to the operation of it. When someone comes in with a special permit, you have to collect all the money, you have to distribute all the documents to everyone that's supposed to get them. You have to fill out all the paperwork and give it to the accounting office, and we have to set up files for it. We wanna be able to set up digital files, be able to get everything digitized, so we don't have file cabinets full of material that, we can't have. At the end of a project, and we have the final document, you know, have the person responsible with the help of Joyce, obviously, cause she's in charge of the records, just to dispose of all the, you know, some of these things have 10, 12 different iterations of drawings and stuff. So get rid of everything that we don't need anymore, and either put a hard copy in the file cabinet, but also digitize it and get it there. We have a massive amount of work that has to be done to backload all that information. We have files in there that you've been working really hard on getting the files straight, but just for an example, you weren't here, but with the earth removal permits, we started on this thing of trying to enforce the earth removal permits. There wasn't one place in the entire town office.
and there's still,
Files.
you need to know the history of that
Yeah.
pit
You
before
have no idea,
sign
we have no,
the
some of
recommendation.
those permits, we don't even know where they are, or if they even exist. And we've done an extensive search of records. So all these things have to be put in place, and have someone who's super organized. First, get them all in one file, get rid of a lot of the duplicates, get everything in one spot, and then hopefully from there we can go to digitize the stuff and even get rid of some more file cabinets. And I think the highway department has done that to a large extent already.
No clue.
Yeah, okay. We talked, you talked to,
I talked to Dennis, he
Dennis
used a
and
thing
Roll.
called,
Yeah.
I think he called it Neat Desk,
Yeah.
and,
so I think it's a,
but
the
we wanna go beyond that.
planning board is doing, the Board of Health is doing that as well,
Yes.
so 12 hours a week would be easily filled
Oh, for sure.
by someone doing that. The other thing is we just passed a new bylaw with the marijuana. Who knows where that's gonna lead. We also passed, with the solar bylaw, we've been getting calls from solar farms. I talked to one engineer today who says that, solar farms in Hubbardston are attractive because they do it on a point system, which I didn't realize. And so the more points you get, the more of a reimbursement they're gonna get. Currently, Hubbardston is allowable, they get a lot of points for coming to Hubbardston, that's why they all wanna come here. So they get more money. So it depends on the town's, what's in the town. So those are some of the things, if those start to come in, so you can just imagine, right now, we don't have any special permits on the books, are being reviewed right now. We have one solar farm that's been approved but hasn't started yet. Even if we get 2 or 3 solar farms and we get a couple marijuana facilities, it's just gonna be crazy. So we need to get someone in place and get these files in some sort of order before something happens. And that's kind of where I think Vin was going with requesting that. So we have this kind of a rare opportunity just to get everything ready and moving forward before we get slammed with stuff. Now, perhaps we won't, but the other reason is happening is just like everyone knows, Patty's been doing both job, the planning board and the building. 5 years ago, 2008, 2009, there was virtually no building. It's easy to combine them because there wasn't much going on. I remember my wife was on the planning board for a year or two, I forget how many years she was on it, but she said they never had anything come in. So all this construction and all new housing building is coming to Hubbardston. Rutland's gonna be built out sooner or later. Westminster's the same way, it's gonna be coming this way. if we get a subdivision in, that's gonna take huge amounts of time. That takes time away from the building clerk. I mean, how many, I was in the other day and you had like 7 or 8 permits
Yeah,
coming in a
that's-
day?
Oh, that's, yeah, you see.
Yeah, so you got all these, her job is getting crazy as well, so I think we really, I think what Vin was saying, it was pretty important. We have an opportunity to get out in front of it now, than trying to catch up from behind.
So I just don't wanna put a structure in place that, then told later was not good for
Yeah,
the planning board purposes. So I know that there's a meeting prep that needs to be done, there's the filing for sure. We'll definitely fill the time if we get the time. Just wanna make sure, are public hours necessary? Is it a certain number of public hours that are necessary? Is it,
We'd
Well-
expect the same public hours.
well, what hours, we,
Public hours isn't a
Well, I
full-time
don't put a
job.
placard on my door that says I'm only doing building. When I'm there, I'm open to both, so it depends on what question comes over my counter. But I don't set aside Tuesdays for planning. I can't work that way. And the public doesn't want that, I think. Maybe it'll change with the planning board, but, the only time it can't be is when my building inspector's in. That office has 7 people in it usually, between those, so that's the only thing I'm requesting that you guys work around is don't make it,
I personally would be, rather have the person work not opposite. I wouldn't like the building clerk's hours exactly the same. Maybe they could, cause there is some overlap that's needed, cause they have to communicate and things going on. I think it would serve the town better if some of those hours they could be separate hours, except for a few hours overlap.
my other recommendation is make sure they overlap Joyce a little bit, because with planning board, you work pretty heavily with the town clerk, and it's better to have that person available to stamp and just when you need.
Whatever hours they work, it's critical they work the Thursday after a planning board meeting. You know, currently you've been working Thursday, so I would be in favor of saying Thursday, you know, they work Thursday morning 9 to whatever, for a good chunk of their hours, because that's gonna be after the planning board meeting. And they can, if they go to the meeting that night, the next morning they come in,
It's fresh too.
it's fresh in
Yeah,
their
it's fresh.
mind, they can write the minutes up. I'm available on Thursdays, I can go in and I can kinda get everything straight right after the meeting.
Was Monday night still, is that for everybody coming in on Monday nights too? Cause I know it's most of the town office, that's most of the people here for the public that night. Would that be a night you wanna keep the same for the assistant?
Really depends on where they're gonna sit, right?
that's what I'm asking.
All right, here's what we have to do. We can't wave our arms. We have to give you a specific schedule. Monday, these hours, Tuesday, these hours, Wednesday, these hours, et cetera.
Well,
And we will.
more a plan. So,
for
in my
the,
mind,
for
you
the
wouldn't-
so-called public hours.
in my mind, you wouldn't necessarily need public hours, so this person could work, this hire could work meetings, minutes, and then doing the tasks that you want with a set schedule, cause people want set schedules, but it doesn't necessarily need to be public
Well,
unless you
who
think,
would interface with the public? You wrote up the job description as an interface with the public.
There's not a lot of interface with the public though with planning board. I found in the year that I've been doing this, it's more phone calls that this was the first one I think in 3 months, and then the emails, I very rarely get a person coming in. Unless it's someone like Ed trying to get on the agenda, but if you just make that person sit and wait for public hours, unless you're gonna do a new and improved planning board and you want people to come in, I'm gonna say that person is not gonna get any
So all
customers.
your submittals are received by mail,
Mail, letter, phone.
all right?
They're not local. Very few local people approach us, and
Well, I mean, to being a good place to work, the only criteria I would have is like the Thursday, so we can, like I said, but we could probably work with a person's schedule.
We did that with the Board of Health, the new assistant we have over there. We told her at the meeting, you can do your hours as long as you work Monday night, cause that's when everybody in town knows that the offices are available to people. And then whatever hours you wanna do during the week, as long as you're consistently there on those days.
That's
And
what
that's what we told that
I don't think
person.
Monday night would be that important because we're not interfacing
That's
with
what we
people.
went through.
Yeah, I
it,
know, but,
we
but
could do a Wednesday night, so to cover the meetings,
Cover the
meeting is
meeting.
not there, there's extra time,
Yeah.
and then Thursday follow up for office work and meetings, so maybe a Wednesday, Thursday heavy schedule.
Right.
Cause Mark's in that office Monday nights too, so it's
Yeah,
gonna be.
Monday nights are,
Crazy. It'd be
Hours,
great.
is 12 hours realistic?
Well,
I think,
Well, that's what was voted on, so it has to be
Yeah.
realistic.
well, that's the money divided by a rate.
there's a lot of
Right.
cleanup work, but not a whole.
Approximately, yeah.
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 It's just a lot of cleanup.
What about
Like
the
28.
the state law? Did they just raise the minimum wage?
this is more than minimum wage.
Oh, it is, oh, okay.
So this hire would be, I've been trying to create parity across
Oh, okay.
all the same job descriptions and put everyone on classification scales, so
Mm.
this person would fit into that,
Okay,
so
good.
that there's no animosity.
So, I mean, I would think it would be, Thursdays is a good time after the meeting, and obviously Thursday nights for the meeting. And then you could fit in, to be a good employer, and say we can work with the hours as long as you can cover those times. That would be my opinion. I don't know what anyone else thinks,
Well, I'd like to just add a couple things.
as long as it's
Um,
consistent, excuse me, Tom.
Back in the budgeting process, before you got here, Brian Bullock asked about it. And I put forth a couple proposals to Ben and to Brian. And I believe money was established as a line item. I remember it being $7,600, but it might have been a different number than that. And during the budgeting process, I remember sitting here watching the slideshow, and the document indicated that that money that was, I'm going to use the word earmarked, for the planning board activities that we defined, was moved to capital. Do you remember that? All right, it was moved to capital under your watch, and I didn't know quite what that meant at the time. But we thought this money was important to do certain foundational things for the planning board, and I'll go into them in a minute. And that it would dissipate with time. It would, in future years, it presumably would take less money. And this was like a filing project. It wasn't really hire a clerk.
Is that the scanning project, and you were gonna scan,
Yes,
digitize it?
yes, and I first there was a Gmail project, and getting Gmail accounts isn't just as easy as, all right, everybody's got their Gmail accounts now. It's gotta be the archiving and the filing and the ability to search them by topic and whatever else we have to do. The main legal thrust, of course, is to stay within the Mass state laws regarding records retention, and public records requests could be fulfilled easily. They can't be very easily fulfilled right now.
No.
A lot of work. So then the scanning project, as you called it, established a planning board filing system index, either based directly on the records retention law, which outlines the planning board pretty well, or in combination with more extensive filing system. We might find it that we could steal from another town or borrow their filing system from another town, Westminster or something that is a little bigger and something that we could perhaps grow into. And then start with the existing paper files and review them, sort them, remove duplicates, and that has to be done under supervision. Town clerk usually reviews duplicate removal and whatnot. Then start scanning them and put the scans into the file system and gradually move the system towards electronics. And we'd set up procedures and train the personnel and put in a quality control thing that says when you scan it, it is indeed legible. You know, it's not 3/4 off the page and all that kind of stuff. And
My staff is fully up on scanning ability.
well, yeah, this would be a new person. I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm just saying that I've read a lot of scans and there are missing pages and whatnot. There has to be a quality control process. Involve the town clerk on duplicate document destruction. Involve the town clerk pretty much everywhere. And move this town ultimately towards having a electronic system where people don't have to come into the office, don't have to find the office hours, to do what they have to do. The application process should be guided, and and the documents could be submitted by email, electronically. We're still dealing with paper drawings and whatnot. We should have them all electronic. All the companies are capable of doing it, but our town doesn't. I'm not sure we can receive them all and properly file them. And this was a one-year request, and it was intended to accomplish some of these things, but maybe it really is just a down payment toward a more electronic system of the future.
I don't think you could do that for $7,600.
Well,
That's what
I'm not asking that it be done, I'm asking that it be started. And as I said, it was intended to accomplish a great deal, maybe looked upon as a down payment toward what would be an ongoing effort in future years, as all files ultimately are handled electronically. That would be, the horizon goal. That's not this fiscal year's goal, but unless we start, we'll never finish. So that was put forward, and budgets were outlined, and I offer you these things. I'll scan them for you.
That's good.
Not scan them, copy them. I'll give them to you electronic if you want.
Please.
Yes.
I prefer electronic. So I'm 100% with that vision. I just think doing it single department by single department is not very cost effective. And
Me either.
so the plan this year was to have every department and board submit information technology upgrades and try and get a efficiency and regionalization grant for all IT services as a one-time capital cost. So we could start this project. And I'm with you. If I could do that right now, I would.
Well,
But that's a culture change that it needs to be managed and put in place. And I agree, like, you need to follow all these laws and make sure that we are reaching that horizon goal. I'm just asking for a little bit of time.
well, the culture change has a lot more to do with the future work from now forward. But much of this is from now back. In other words, you've got piles of file cabinets over here. And if they could be consolidated and organized, this doesn't have to be a permanent hire even. This could be the money spent on a person that comes in and just does this project. It wasn't necessarily meant to be a planning board clerk. We apparently were not communicated your plans, and we hadn't communicated our plans. But when we saw that no money was being funded at all, we spoke up at town meeting and got money. I think we have the,
But you're talking about two different things. So you're talking about the clerk and you're talking about the e-file and Gmail storage system.
well, they could be the same. They could be done by the same person.
But that's not what was said. That was
The
never
town meeting, we
articulated
were
to
just
me.
asking for our own clerk.
No, I said we have a lot of digging out to do. That's what I stood up and said. I said to you that the concept that all we need are meeting minutes and I guess meeting attendance and minutes is not appropriate or not correct. We've got a lot of digging out to do, and I didn't go through it all, but this is what I mean by digging out. We've got 20 file cabinets over here.
And that's true for almost every department.
That's fine.
And
We're only the planning board.
I know, and you're in yours, but the idea is to nudge everybody forward.
I'd be
But the-
supportive of that in any way I can,
I'm
but that doesn't
100%
mean we stand still.
Committed to that goal, but it takes time and money.
That's
And
why we appropriated some money.
Well, the money was for a new clerk, that was,
Well, the clerk, we didn't define what the clerk does. I'm hearing that there isn't a lot of public interaction.
So
I'm
that's
hearing
good.
that
This helps me understand.
I'm hearing that there's office hours that could be devoted to doing some of this.
I mean, that's how I visualize it, is like the cleanup I've been
Even
doing,
if they just pick
A&Rs
away
and
at it.
yeah, the special
Right.
permit organization,
Yeah.
and you're right, going through just the solar projects right now, just getting
That would be
everything lined
marvelous.
up and just find something to do with all those big fees. I mean, I have
Well, I
so
would even
many-
call up the engineers and say, give me your files electronically. Our planning board engineer has them electronically.
What do, we need to also find out, someone like a new clerk needs to research what we need to keep as far as the state is concerned.
There's
Find
a
out what
public
all the
records retention law, and I suggest we talk with Joyce about that, because
That's her area.
that's her area, and
Yeah.
that's something that needs to be done right.
okay, so moving forward, so we're looking at hiring a clerk for 12 hours a week. A lot of these things we can, actually, a lot of these things, Tom, with the new, if we get a new
We
clerk.
can do them.
we
We
can
didn't stand
start-
up at town
we
meeting to define what the clerk does.
I know, but we can start doing this forward and as they have time, we can start looking backwards.
That's right. The next application, we should force it through the knothole
Right.
and say, this has to be done
We'll get
electronically,
the-
and we'll learn.
Yeah, we'll get the bugs worked out that way, so. Anyways, moving forward then, we get this new clerk on board, 12 hours a week. The job description, I thought it was pretty good, personally. I didn't have any issues with it. I don't know if anyone else did.
So the plan would be then to hire a person who's publicly available on call, meeting coverage plus dig out, to use, we'll use
Well,
vacation.
meeting coverage, they have to come to the meetings, write the minutes the next day, so they have to work
And start some of
Wednesday
this.
evening and Thursdays, if you can get the 12 hours in those 2 days, that would be great. Maybe a couple, I like trying to work with employees. I mean, you're working a part-time person, I think it's better to be able to try to work together to get their schedule to see if it fits. So you've got a really good person, and they can say they can, Wednesday nights, they have to work. There's only certain times they have to work.
Sure.
But the other times, we can work with their schedule as long as it's consistent with the schedule.
It's important that the visions align so that the
Right.
employee's not confused as to
Right.
Well,
what the expectations are.
Yeah.
if I could make an overall comment about the job description, it's expansive, and the person that reads this and applies for the job and gets the job and then comes in and says, what's my job? Well, it's scanning documents. That's not gonna fit.
No, it's not though. It's doing instruction sheets to help people do the special permit process.
I know it's
There's
more
a-
than that, but what I'm saying is, if we want to scan documents, you can hire a scanner.
I mean, you
Person.
hired me and I've been scanning documents for
I know,
4
Tom, what
months.
we're trying to do is, we're
Well,
trying to get
that's wrong.
started, we're trying to get
That's wrong,
started.
and we should fix that.
But it's all part of trying to improve and I see what you
know,
guys are doing,
but
I
if we
love
had
the
a-
vision.
If we had a dedicated person who scanned for $10 an hour or whatever it is now, I don't know. And this document describes someone who's really pretty sophisticated. They're gonna draft decisions, they're gonna write the annual report, they're gonna, this is a sophisticated planning board clerk or planning board
All those
administrative
functions
assistant.
still need to be done.
Tom, if I
Yes,
could,
they do.
we went through the same process with the Board of Health. We interviewed 44 applications. We went through and we interviewed like over 20 people. And the individual that we hired was by far the best person. She's unbelievable. And she is doing that. She's organized the office, put everything together the way it should be in Lely. And then she is starting to update and put everything on electronics and on the computer. So it can all be done at the same time. And I believe the hours are approximately the same. So, of course, I think the planning board, as it sounds, has a lot more documentation than the Board of Health does. But
We do and we don't. We right now, we have virtually
I don't
nothing.
think we know.
Well, no, it's a feast of
Don't
family.
forget too,
I don't think we
I'm the
know.
only central spot,
Right.
so all the documentation gathers in that office because you guys don't have offices. So I think that's half the, here, just hold these for me, or let's put these in the.
Right. And that's not
and
gonna
that's-
change.
No.
The space is a problem, it's not your
Yeah,
problem,
right.
but
Yes.
it's a problem.
But I think this is a good way to start the position and start moving forward with it. This job description I read is very similar to an entry-level, planner position at Montechusett or Central Mass Regional Planning, which, if the town does grow, you eventually wanna have more of a sophisticated planner. So if you can get someone to fulfill all the qualifications that are capable of doing this job, that would be great to be able to get someone to do that. And as things, if they don't pick up, then we have lots of other work to do.
Sure.
And it'd be good if they got started slowly. It's kind of timing is critical. Again, they get started slowly and move forward. So once we get the process rolling, then they'll be able to when they look back on what they need to do to work on these old records, they'll have a better idea what they're looking for. So you can train them forward. I mean, Patty and I got a pretty good handle of where things are now. Which
Only
we've
took
been-
us a year.
We've been working a year. I've been going in 1 day a week almost for a year,
Yeah.
trying to get these files, at least, so I think we're at the point we know where things are now. So if you ask us for something, we have a 50-50 chance of finding it, so.
We probably also aren't
Tom
the
is good.
best people to supervise such as, an activity such as electronically, moving to electronic files. We had money in here for, $3,000 for an outside consultant. Now, if that money could be merged with money you have for whatever you're doing on the multi-department level, be glad to share the money and the
Sure, and
expertise.
that's- I would love to. I mean, we looked
Yeah.
at a consultant to do paperless, and for just one office, just the executive office, it was $5,000. So it's
Well,
it's
this is
extremely expensive.
not to do the work, it's to outline the structure, and then we fill in the
Sure.
holes.
But I'm saying I can do a lot of that by speaking with peers and
Yeah.
getting information, and it's cost prohibitive. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look into it, but we're gonna find a way. It's just,
Well, if it's
It's-
multiple department and $3,000 or $5,000 is spread over 5 or 6 groups, it's a buy.
let's hope.
Okay, so, again, let's move forward a little bit. What's the hiring process then, so we kinda know where we are?
So I would also, I'm asking if the planning board would like to send a representative to be on the hiring committee. So we would be advertising position next week, probably keep it open for 2 weeks.
How do you advertise? Where's it posted?
It'll be posted on the website and social media, and if we
But
could-
it's an external posting.
yes.
Okay.
And then maybe a site like MMA, again, it costs a little money, and don't quite know where that's coming from.
What's MMA?
Mass Municipal Association. So, 2 weeks for that, and then 1 day of interviewing. Hopefully we have a strong candidate, and then, we have to give 2 weeks, so we're looking at we're about a month out if we start next week.
Awesome. Does
So the
anyone-
board doesn't have the opportunity to do any of the interviews at all?
No, he just asked us if we
Right,
wanna
right.
send a rep.
I think that's the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
I do not think that a administrative assistant would, I don't think it would be very fun to do a public interview as an administrative assistant.
Was
It
anyone-
wasn't fun as a town administrator.
Is anyone interested in doing that?
I would be.
I'm, everyone, so we'll make
It's
a
a
mo-
one-shot deal. I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't something that goes on forever,
So
so
we'll make a motion to have Tom as
I'd be
the,
glad to do that.
person to do it?
Second that.
Someone's gotta first it.
I'll make the motion.
Make a
Yeah, he
first.
can't make.
Seconded?
That's right, he can.
Yeah.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good.
Before I embark on that, though, I'd like a sense of the board's feeling for how we could, blend or share the money if we have to. If Ryan comes up with some great suggestions, or something happens in the meantime and we have a way of,
We're not gonna share this money at all. This money is strictly to get a person on the planning board as our clerk to do all
this is the town meeting money.
the town meeting money.
How about the money that moved to,
That was
capital?
that was not approved.
yes, it was.
It was?
It was approved by Brian, and he put it on the budget, and I saw it in the budget, and it moved to capital, and it's in there somewhere.
It's no longer in the budget.
I don't remember paying in the budget myself.
What's in your capital budget?
The 4 items in the capital budget were the firefighter mitigation system, the library, one-time projects, maintenance projects, the town center engineering costs,
That box, huh?
yes.
Okay.
But that was pulled
I
out
thought-
and voted as a separate
Yeah.
item, cause it was conflated in the original budget, so we separated and teased out all capital. So,
I just remember clear as a bell, the spreadsheet was up there and it said move to capital, but my
Was
memory
it-
might be
Was it
failing.
in regarding to the email system? Cause I remember seeing something that said move to IT or something along those lines.
Yeah. What happened to our email? Is
That's the
that-
next question. That was the next.
that's the next up.
Oh, okay. All right.
I
So
thought we were
we're-
talking about the planning assistant,
so-
then we moved into
All right,
filing
so then
cabinets.
we're talking about the approved money from the town meeting, and it's not blendable or
No.
flexible, it's, okay.
The clerk, and hopefully we'll be able to get a clerk and they'll have some time. Let's get them acclimated with Patty's help. Patty's gonna help. I know,
No.
listen. No, you're not gonna do that?
She has agreed to help, yes.
Okay, so we'll get that person in, and hopefully if we get some slow time, we can start to figure out a plan. You and I are
Could I
that
ask
person.
one more question?
No. No, I'm just kidding.
You obviously had a different plan. It wasn't to hire a $11,500 clerk that we introduced into the town meeting.
No, it was not.
What was your plan?
So my plan was to free up the meeting minutes time, which was my understanding was causing a lot of the lack of planning board time. So the shared position would be freed up by hiring an outside person to do the minutes. That way, whoever was working for the planning board would have maximum amount of time to focus on planning board stuff. And then as the manager, I'm not trying to conflate the title.
No,
As the
that's
manager of the employee, as a town administrator, I was going to enforce the idea that these hours would be dedicated to planning board tasks. So I thought it was a cheaper, more efficient solution that would allow for whatever you wanted to use that meeting minutes person for to accomplish.
And that was what, 3 hours a week or something? What was that?
It was 5 hours bi-weekly. Plus, you would
5
still
hours every other week?
Yes,
2.5 hours a week.
and you would still have the split land use assistant position.
And I
But
think,
that person's time would be freed up by 5 hours, which would allow for tasks like this.
but the town meeting agreed to pay the extra money, so that's.
Yeah.
And
I
I think,
just
and I
re-
think in the long run, it's gonna actually be better if we get busy. If we don't get busy, then maybe not, but, if we don't get busy, we can do a down payment on starting to get these records sorted out.
And I
So
was
it's not a
was
bad
never
thing.
against the idea of it. It's just it's attracting employees and making retention a thing. So a 19-hour-a-week job is more appealing than a 10 to 12 to 15-hour-a-week
That's
job.
my fear too. If it's a 12-hour-week job and there's nothing to do, once the filing and the cleaning up is done,
They'll-
if they're looking for something challenging, and you read that job description, it sounds like it'd be
I think you're
exciting.
selling it short. I think there is gonna be a lot to do.
Okay.
I
That's
only
just my
regret
feeling.
that this is the first time we really heard your plan.
Oh, I did present it during my budget.
Gee, I don't remember. I think I was sitting here, but maybe I wasn't.
You were. I thought you were on board.
No?
Okay, well, it doesn't matter what,
Now I'm here and we're talking about expectations, so that moving
Okay, good.
forward,
Moving
we're all on the
forward,
same
yeah.
page. Email.
email,
Gmail.
Gmail. Patty got prices, we asked, we do wanna comply with the state law. Okay, I've set up my, what my email address is for Hubbardston Planning. I forget what it is now, but,
It's long.
yeah, it's long. But it's not technically archivable by the town. If I leave this, or when I leave this position, I can give the town clerk the access and my password, and then it could be archivable. But it would be better if we all used the town email address, so. And you were gonna look into that, and we were asking what could happen.
I don't agree that everyone should use, at this point, without some type of discussion about overall the town email, only because of cost.
How do we supposed to comply with state law?
Well, that's true of all planning boards across the state.
I know,
No.
but, well, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what other people do, it's what the law says we're supposed to be archived by the town. So, I don't know, what's the alternative, is just continue on just using your own personal emails?
We could establish a shared file with free Gmail accounts that are used and put the onus on the planning board members to properly archive.
But could it be archived by the town?
It cannot if it's free Gmail.
It can't, okay, that was the question. So
And
the only way we can do it and be archived to comply with state law is if we spend, what was it, $700 or,
Yeah,
It's
it
a
was
ridiculous amount of
$60
money, yeah.
for-
It's $10 an account per month.
per year. So $120.
So
$120 per.
120, 120, 120.
Yes.
Do we have to use Gmail? Can we look at other email products?
Well, that's the town email right now.
Okay.
But I just heard $600 a year.
Just for this board.
I spend 3 times that much in my house fooling with this stuff. And I'm not happy about it.
I don't blame you, and neither would I be.
I'd probably spend that in ink.
So, why can't we,
So it's my job to look at the town as a whole. So although this board would be $600 is $600. The entirety of the town, the town's budget does not, the taxpayers have not approved enough appropriation to justify the amount of cost it would be to put everybody on the town email. We don't even have our whole staff on the town email yet. I mean, that's kind of an exaggeration, so I wanna pull that back a little bit, but there's one account per department.
Right. If we took it out of our operating budget, we have $1,000 operating budget. Is that something you would look favorably on doing?
Yeah, it's not wanting to do it.
Oh, I understand
I
that.
wanna do all these things.
Yeah.
It's deciding how to properly appropriate the taxpayers' money.
Okay.
And you guys can't just use plan, and I'll just have the password for the planning one and use that.
Oh,
and
I know,
sign
I
your
understand
name,
that,
and
yeah.
I guess you could.
You'd have to assign, so
No.
it costs $600
That
a
would
year.
get worse.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we kick in some money and get it done. I'm very uncomfortable with the records, public records law aspects of this. I want it up and open and available to all.
So the question is if we said we'll give you $120, the town $120 a year, can we have the IT person set it up? That's your question, right?
Well, it's more than just set it up. I mean, it's archiving,
Well,
it's
that's
that
all.
includes-
backups and.
That's included in that fee.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
a
being on the
full-
town
a
email
full-
means.
full suit.
Would you approve that, or would you?
So 120 for Tom to have an account, or is everyone gonna have one?
Well, if someone wants it, if someone's uncomfortable with it and
I
wants
don't
to.
think it's just me.
Well, it's, the question is, if you're uncomfortable, if a person in any department in the town is uncomfortable using their own personal email and wants a town email account, could they give the town $110 a month or $120 a year to
Not-
get that?
Not personally, no.
Okay, cause you'd have to accept it through a town meeting vote.
Correct.
Shouldn't be just me.
Well,
I don't think
it's not,
people appreciate what's going on.
By the way, it was recommended in the school for management
Yeah,
style for
yeah.
this, that everyone that's planning board member do not use your own personal accounts.
That was KP Law's recommendation.
Right.
so,
At that training
Things
session.
that can be broken, and a person's life can be broken.
okay, so
That's all
where
I
are we
have
with
to
it then?
Sorry.
Where people just using their own emails, unless, how would one go, if we wanted to vote of, we have $1,000 a year budget. If we said we'll take $600 of that money and get email addresses for everyone on the planning board, is that gonna be approved by you or by the town to do that?
So to me, it's not. I'm not trying to be picky. It's not the money. It's the idea that we need a better long-term
You
plan.
just finished saying it was the money. Not 5 minutes ago, you said the
That's-
reason you
that's-
don't want the emails is because of the money.
Tom, that's really unfair. It's
That's what you said.
it's really unfair though that this isn't the only planning board in town facing this issue. And I understand we're talking about this planning board, and I understand this board is interested in that. So of course we can figure out the money and get the accounts. But it's a bigger problem than that, Tom.
What did you do with the Board of Health?
We use our own emails.
I thought she stood here at candidates night and said she was setting up the emails for everybody.
She is trying to make it more up to date, cause that's what she does, but we don't have our own town emails.
Well, we asked the town for $1,000 operating expense, right? They approved it. I think we ought to determine for ourselves how we spend it. I'd make a motion, we spend $600 of that line item and move forward on professional email system for every member.
Ryan, what's your downfall for Tom's idea going forward?
The idea that it should be every person in the town that's a volunteer having an account. So you're talking over 100 accounts.
But
I've never
from
said
an
that.
individual group, we're taking money that was allocated to us and we want to defer it back to something that we want.
I'm not opposed to that.
Oh, that was the question.
So is that okay that we?
And I've never said every volunteer in town has to have
Honestly,
a
I'm debating.
Gmail account.
I'm trying to think in my head if that's right. Should it just come from town funds. I'm trying to think of where the money should come from so that you don't have to expend your expense account on something like an email.
But to be
It's not
fair
because
to
I'm
you,
against it, it's
Tom,
because it's a
yeah.
bigger issue.
Well, Ryan, but Tom made the motion just to get it off the ground, that's a good idea. Just so we can get it moving forward. And maybe this is a stepping stone for the town and everybody else to work it that harder. Cause I think it's a good idea to have town accounts for the emails, I think it's safer for everybody.
Because what happens also when we start maxing out our free Gmail accounts? Well, what are we supposed to do with all the documentation from years of what we're supposed to be keeping?
I don't disagree.
Yeah, like the 25 emails I sent the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus all the attachments and all the,
Yeah.
It's a lot, and I agree, the printing, that's why I always try to read electronically.
If we vote that meeting, if we vote on this tonight, would you authorize the IT person to set them up?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to show the proper stewardship of
Yep.
the
you're doing a
town
good
wide.
job. I don't,
It's not,
Yep.
I agree with you 100%, we should all have, I should have R. McLean at Hubbardston, I have admin, right, like there is.
well, admin works for you. There's only one
Right.
admin.
So now it's my next question is, do you want personal named emails or
I would,
I think the naming convention that you used is perfect.
do you want
Yeah.
plan 1, plan 2?
no, I would,
No,
well, I use
no one
T,
will know who we are.
I use T Bracco,
I
TW
use W.
Bracco.
Holman's.
So you would be able to use that email for Board of Health as well. So you have like, maybe we
No,
should ask them
no,
for some money.
You
I
shouldn't
don't- I
mix
think it
planning
should be
board with
separate.
Board of Health.
Yeah. No,
Welcome to the
no,
rabbit
no.
hole, gentlemen.
You don't want that.
Okay, so,
But we have to be really careful, I'm sorry.
So, is there a cost to changing the names on the emails?
It's just not, there's a logistical problem to it. It's not impossible and we'll certainly figure it out. It's just, we have to get that person to give it up and et cetera, and there's
I
elections
don't-
and all this stuff.
I don't think you should,
It's-
because if Vin leaves the planning board, and he had a Vin at planning board account, all his emails have to be archived.
Right, so it's
You
easier.
can't just change them all to
So you just
Joe
close
at
his
planning
account.
board.
yeah, no.
So that's why it's easier to have,
Planning board one.
plan 1 at, that's why it's easier to have admin, right? So you don't have to, every time you change the town administrator, which
Well,
has happened a little bit, right, the archiving stays.
We'll make it for $600 for this year, and when someone gets elected or something next year, we'll change it, but
Right, so that
I suggest we go forward with human names.
right, I would be more comfortable with that.
And then we've gotta think about how we retrieve Scott's, Vin's.
And what if you can't, and in, 2 years, all of a sudden you have 12
Well, you
email
won't, because
accounts?
when a person leaves the board for whatever reason, that email account is retired and archived, and the new person that would take that person's place would get a new
But I'm
email
thinking as a
account.
techie, so closing and archiving to you just means that no one's gonna be logging into that, but as far as the paperwork is concerned, they're gonna say that you still own that email account, it's gonna cost you $60 a year.
No, it won't, it'll belong to the town. The town will have archived the.
Pull it down and put it in
I don't think
an
it works
electronic
that way.
file.
Well, I don't know.
think from,
That's how most Gmail account works, is once it's archived, it's
and
owned.
and you
We've
close it.
spent more than $600 talking about this.
I know.
Uh,
Well, why don't we get, who would do this work then? So we voted, we did
It's
vote
me.
for it. So you would, does everyone wanna just use their first initial,
At planning board
or whatever it is?
T. Robinson.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Is that okay with you?
Yep, okay, so it's easy.
And will this email,
Female.
Maybe sexist now.
will this email, store all the attachments? Or do we have to separate them from the email and store them separately?
Yeah, I hope not. No, it'll be the same as the email that I have.
Is
So,
it searchable?
Yes.
Is by attachment name or just by email subject?
It depends on how good you are with Outlook.
Okay, so it's an Outlook,
I can do it.
okay, I'll try my hardest.
I'll show
So
you.
then we work.
We'll have a
I'll
little
try to live up to your
tutorial.
standards.
We'll have a
Well,
little
Ryan,
tutorial on
If
Outlook.
nothing else, Ryan, this will give one department or one board will have this in place for at least a year and maybe get some of the bugs worked out with it. But as you might know, we had some open records requests and stuff. And it it was kind of, it cost more than $600 of our time just to do it. But anyways, this would be easy. They can call for a records request. You or Joyce could call.
Take anything you want.
Take it and just send them the whole file and we're done with it. It will actually save money if that does happen, so I think.
So my only other thing that I have to look into is the idea of, do you have to be connected to the network to access this account?
You
The
connect.
town network?
Oh, you connect at home, don't you?
That's what I just need to make sure. Cause
Yeah.
I don't log into Gmail, I log into Splashtop, which brings me to my,
With the old system, I used to log into the Hubbardston
Right, the charter, webmail.
Charter webmail.
it should be okay,
Yeah.
just wanna make sure it has the full
I just don't wanna sit
functionality.
here to get my email, I wanna get it at home.
Okay, I think, is there
Well,
anything
you
else?
can print for free here.
Alright, so email file storage should be part of the email. I get what that means now in the job posting, so yes, that's it.
And you'll take care of the financial transfer of the $600 from our account?
Yeah.
To that when it happens. And we just have to be aware that we only have $400
$400 left. Well, thank you very much for coming to the meeting and all the way back from your vacation.
No
Sorry to
place I'd rather be.
Sorry to keep you so long.
Long drive from Nantucket.
I wish it was Nantucket.
Is that where you come up from, Nantucket?
No, 100%.
I was in New Hampshire.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Drive safely.
Take care, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we did the marijuana bylaw, we fit Ryan in. We'll do the solar projects after we discuss
I'm sorry.
the,
Appreciate it.
we get the applicants for the, associate member. Thank you for coming, 2 people, 2 of the 4.
Before we do that,
Wow. Congratulations, Craig. You're a Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, yeah.
We
He's
got-
a scholar?
Yeah, he's a Rhodes Scholar.
what is it?
Just attend a lot of classes.
Oh, good
No,
for you.
it's
Good for
a
you.
nice
That's
acknowledgement. I
a
think
great
we oughta.
thing, yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah,
go.
that's good.
Give him a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Where did you get that thing?
Congratulations.
I'm sneaking around. No, the selectmen.
How'd you get that anyway?
That was a part of the selectman meeting minutes.
Oh,
can
I
I
thought it
see
was
it?
in the Boston
Yeah,
Globe.
it was congratulations to the town of Hubbardston on the success of Craig Bussino. Mr. Bussino recently completed all the requirements for our Bay States Road Scholarship Program, which is
Wow.
a series of courses, and out of it comes the knowledge and
You know what, this is gonna really make the
expertise on roads.
wheels turn as you're the scholar of our roads now. I think you need a special insignia on your coat for that.
Junior scholar.
Okay, so we're talking about
That's good.
associate member, okay, Mass General Law says, Mass General Law, what's the number, if anyone wants it? 40A, Section 9, special permits. And the next to the last paragraph is each city and town can establish the position of an associate member to stand in for a member that either can't vote or can't attend certain public hearings. So the position, I should be talking to these guys, the position is, that when there's a public hearing and we have to have a supermajority of 4 people voting, if one member has to recuse himself for a particular reason, or they don't attend the meetings, you have an associate member to step in. And Mass General Law says the towns have the opportunity to do that. And if they want to, and the town of Hubbardston has, under the zoning bylaw, 7.6, associate member, there shall be an associate member recommended by the planning board and appointed by the selectmen. The associate member shall sit on the board for the purpose of acting on special permit application in case of absent inability or to act or conflict of interest on the part of any member of the planning board or the event of a vacancy on the board. So the planning board recommends someone, and the general bylaw, chapter 3, says other offices to be appointed by the select board, as is the planning board, associate member is one of those listed. So the way I read Mass General Law, the zoning bylaw, and the charter is the planning board recommends a person to be appointed to the associate member, and the select board appoints that person. And also, general law is very specific. The planning board, the chairman of the planning board can appoint any person at any time to be an associate member besides that associate member there, so. That's what we're doing. We have 3 applications. Francis,
Francois.
Francois.
There you go.
Francois, applied, sent a letter to the select board, you've all seen it, I sent it to everyone, okay? And Scott here, who used to be on the planning board, he's asked to be considered, and Mark Dimick, who has been our associate member for how many years, Tom, 3?
Oh, I think 5.
5 years,
Here's Mark, I reached out to Mark, I said, hey, send me your qualifications, and
okay?
he did that little write-up, pretty short.
So, we're just here, what we're gonna do tonight is just kinda get to meet everyone, I've never obviously met you before, and ask what your interest is, and tell us a little bit about yourself, and
Sure. I think the letter basically provides you hopefully as much detail as is required.
yeah,
I've been a Hubbardston resident since 1999. I live on 65 Gilbert Road. I am professionally engaged in the information security and the information assurance area. I have had numerous conversations with select board members, as well as with Mr. Bill Murray, who I know very well because he happens to be my neighbor.
oh,
I do have a interest in managing, maintaining the appearances of the town in a manner that qualify it as a rural area, but yet at the same time, hopefully in a manner that can be leveraged for the purposes of improving the town. I do understand that the planning board has numerous things that come to it. The special permit is a very narrow area. It's certainly a good time for me to involve myself and get back to my community. And this is one of the main reasons that I've decided to put myself forth as such.
great. And what do you do, information
I
security?
work as a consultant for in the information assurance area,
Oh, okay, great, well,
governance, risk and compliance.
oh, okay, great. Does anyone have any questions? Greg, Tom?
I'm trying to recall the letters, I was doing the paper
yeah.
shuffle here, cause I
Oh,
don't,
here's his letter,
I don't have it, there was 2.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the second one, okay. Ah, yes. It's all coming back to me now.
Have you ever served on any other boards in town?
No, not in town.
Yeah, so you both understand, so if we have a special permit hearing, you would have to come to all the meetings for the special permit, okay?
Absolutely. I'm
And
very
you'd
much
only,
aware.
yeah, okay, you'd only be voting if one of the other members couldn't vote, okay, so it's kinda like.
You need to achieve a supermajority
Right.
in order to be able to provide a reasonable assurance to the person who's requesting a special permit,
Right.
that they can go one way or the other.
Right, exactly, so it's kinda like you come to every meeting, but if everyone shows up, you still don't get to go, but if someone can't, like last meeting, we didn't have an associate member coming to the meetings for that Williamsville Road project, so it had to be unanimous, vote, so. Anyone know more questions? Anyone else? Tom?
Craig?
Craig?
Were you involved in any government activities? I mean, you know, like elected office or something, not information stuff. But did you, in another town
No.
where you
I'm
lived
not
before?
in- This is the town that I have chosen to live in, and for the last 20 years I've resided here, and I have not participated in government in such a manner, in terms of an active member like yourself as a board member. I have participated in numerous meetings, and your videos are certainly a way that I do participate, because I cannot always be here.
Did you read any of our, we've had some big for Hubbardston to come before us. Did you read any of our decisions? Any questions on them, or how we think, or how we don't, it's not a group think, but how we process then, or how we proceed?
I do believe that I am familiar with the process. I do feel that I don't have any questions with regards to this, if that's what you're
I'm
asking me.
just trying to be open, I mean,
No,
if
that's
you
fine.
have questions,
I have no questions with
now's the
regards
time to
this.
do it.
And I do understand that every situation is quite unique and is quite different. So each one of these situations has to be looked at with a serious manner and with the details of what the individual situations present themselves as.
Did you attend any of the Marinelli,
I'm sorry?
any of the Marinelli, that's a person's name,
The
Marinelli?
gravel pit, the,
Gravel pit things?
No, I have not.
yeah.
I don't
That
have.
was our big one last
I
year.
do not have any, I did not have any personal, matter
Oh,
involved with
yeah.
regards to, gravel pits or anything of that nature. Nor did I think it was necessary for me to participate in something that
Yeah.
required me to be there at that time. I do not own a gravel pit, let's put it this way.
We would know if you did.
I have a lot of stones in my property, but not a gravel pit.
Anyone else then? Any more questions?
No, I'm all set.
Scott?
Well, thanks for coming tonight and being here for the interview.
Let's go,
And
Scott.
waiting.
Scott LeBlanc, he's the other.
Francois, Jean-Paul, or?
Francois.
I know it's French.
It's Francois.
Francois.
Thank you. I put my name in the hat only because I believe that there was a lot that I was involved with, Marinelli pits and all the other things that we made decisions on, or things where people just backed off and says, hey, we don't wanna do that for now, but, so I understand what it's going to involve. You two folks are the only two that I know I wasn't on the board with, but everybody else knows that I'm diligent, I listen, I investigate, and I use reasoning when we talk through the board on some of the decisions that we came through. Plus the fact that, you still have zoning, you still have all those other activities that you have to look at. So that's why I put my name in. So I understand how much time it's going to take. Sometimes it's not gonna take much time at all, others it may take 4 or 5 monthly meetings. Or more, so I'm willing to do that.
You like the late hours.
Uh-huh.
You like the late hours.
All right.
Late hours.
We're not doing late hours.
Yeah, I tend to start later in the day than I do in the morning.
I get up at 4:30. I'm not doing late hours anymore. If I can help it. Anyone else, any questions for Scott? Why don't you read better than I, why don't you read Mark Dimick's?
All right, Mark Dimick sent me a quick, my qualifications. Been a member of the planning board for close, if not more than 20 years, for close to, if not more than 20 years, and served as chairman for several years. Been involved in town government for over 30 years. I've been involved in development and building business for over 30 years, and I deal with planning and zoning issues on a regular basis, and have worked with multiple planning boards in the area. I'm very familiar with the Mass General laws with respect to planning and zoning issues. I've taken multiple land use and planning classes and training seminars, and very familiar with the rules of order for running a meeting. And he is our present associate member. Well, I'm not sure if he's today because
He
we
was
have to
so-
appoint him, but
Can you make copies
he's
of
been
this?
our associate member for
Okay.
probably 3 years, I think,
At least 3 years, yeah.
and has participated in some votes.
Okay. So Patty's gonna make copies of that for everyone. So, tonight's meeting is just to talk to people. I don't like to call it an interview, really, just to get to know everyone.
Is there anybody else?
Nope, there's 2 other people that told me they were gonna put their name in, and they didn't wanna do it in the end.
Okay.
So next meeting, it's on the agenda for the next meeting we'll deliberate, and that won't be there won't be any public participation at that deliberation, and then we'll vote on it. So just please think about it. You've met everyone, who've had some
I have one
information.
question for Scott. How many of those Holy Cross training, well, they were at Holy Cross, they weren't Holy Cross sponsored, but those training sessions?
The trainings at Holy Cross were for, basically it was like, I believe it was one day, but you had a curriculum that you could choose.
Yeah, you could go session.
You could pick whatever session you want.
You wanna go to one of those?
And it was real interesting because those are the sessions when I worked in high tech, that's how they did all of their training sessions exactly the same way.
Okay.
You could choose what you wanted to
Tom's.
see.
It was the,
Thank you.
how many do they?
4, 5.
Too short.
Oh, that's Tom's.
I know, all right.
One, two, oh, that's the south.
Are you holding on to them then?
Yeah, I still, okay, great.
Did we make it through the agenda?
No,
Oh.
no, that was just that item. Short item, so
47.
come please read everything, think about it, come to the next meeting,
That's the 11th, right?
the 11th, right, we have a
That's
special
next week.
permit,
6:30?
6:30. And, this will probably be the only other thing on the agenda, so it'll be hopefully a quick meeting.
And it starts at 6:30, correct?
Right. Okay, thanks for coming in, guys, you can stay if you
Thank you.
want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank-
on your,
It's a
Thanks,
award.
Scott. Thank you.
I'll have to talk to the town administrator.
Scott,
tomorrow.
thanks for coming,
You good, thanks.
thank you, Francois,
Good night.
for coming
Thanks,
in.
Francois.
thank you. Good to see you, how are you?
Okay, so, get back on schedule here. Borrego is the next, so we skipped over Borrego before, we get the marijuana, Borrego, we did the applications, email addresses we already discussed, and then the goals. Okay, so just to update you on, Gardner Road. Well, we can start first with, Williamsville Road, there was no, what do they call those things?
Appeal.
No appeals, that's moving forward, the owner, we had some questions about the decommissioning fees, and they're working with, their attorney and Borrego to say, this has nothing to do with the town.
This
Um,
between the company and the buyer?
and the buyer, at this point, there's nothing. The buyers, I mean, the owners may wanna look at some stuff with the board eventually, but, nothing has really happened with that. It was nothing to do with us.
That's
It's
great.
their contract.
You mentioned earlier Bill Murray was asked to do something, or was he just estimate the costs? Or-
Oh, yeah, Bill Murray gave us the estimated costs of, so the appeal period is over, now they have to move forward to getting complete, all their pre-construction stuff, okay? Bill Murray's provided us a quote, with the cost to do that. I also got another quote from another company to do that, but
Does the town have to pay for that, or the company does?
the solar company has to pay for all that, the construction company. So we have two prices, those prices, we have to decide who we wanna use, it's not up to the solar company to decide who they use, we
Oh, wow.
decide who we wanna use. And we don't pay for it, we
Right.
pay for it, but they reimburse us. So, until we hear that the project is gonna move forward, we don't really have to address that, we can put that on the next meeting if you want, to
Well,
look at those prices,
What do
or-
we have to do, what do we have to have in place before we would release them to cut a tree or do anything?
Before they have to do that, they have to get a building permit, they have to provide the bonds and all that stuff.
Did
They
we
have-
get notified? or-
Well, that's, yes.
We
we're
gotta
supposed to-
figure out a system, I'm going for the system.
I agree, Tom, and I think we have to think about going forward, saying, once you've got approval, there's been no appeal, then this is what you have to do. I'm not,
Yeah, the decision should say what they have to do.
I'm pretty sure, it does say
It
in the
does,
position,
Yeah,
but,
but it's kind of,
yeah,
you gotta pick it out.
right, so, I will talk to Bill about that, this week, he's on vacation this week, next week. And hopefully,
Alright.
we'll just keep it on the agenda for an update and see. I don't wanna say that it's not gonna go forward, but there are some legal questions
Are
between the
these
owner.
the two up, on the Gardner line?
Nope, this is just the 147 Williamsville Road.
Oh, that's, Leighton's property.
No,
Williams-
Road,
Williams-
Oh,
down
I'm sorry,
towards
I'm
Barry.
I was
I thought
thinking
you lived in
Gardner
town
Road.
a long
I
time.
was,
I thought you used to be a
thinking,
copier.
I was thinking Gardner
Williamsville
Road.
Road's one of the more major streets.
Oh, it goes the other way.
Yeah, a road scholar can tell you about it.
Oh, he's educated on them, that's why.
So anyway,
Okay.
that's next to Kathy Hanscake's house.
Right, okay.
Across from Patty's house, or Dave's house. So we'll just keep it on the agenda for the next meeting, and if anything changes, we'll let everyone know what's going on with, I agree with you, Tom,
We've kind of put them on notice because of what they did on Gardner Road,
Right.
so
So
we
let's,
just wanna keep them in the lane, you know.
so moving to Gardner Road, which Borrego has the two projects there, they're two separate projects, but they're kinda one. Now, I've copied all the emails to everyone, so I don't wanna have to rehash everything that has to happen here, but Bill Murray is our consultant on that, and he is working on it. We have to find out how much money is left in their account for engineering. But what has to be done is, we have to do a final site work, okay? They have to give us, this is the minimum, they have to give us a as-built drawing, which they should have done before we even gave them that license to generate. And they've still not completed all their Conservation Commission stuff. They're supposed to have to get a sign off from DEP that they've stabilized the place and get it removed from their deed. And the other big item is they sold the property, which we didn't know that they had notified us, but they had notified us. They had sold the property, and the ownership of the
By property, you don't mean dirt, you mean the
solar farm.
installation.
the installation. They own the money, the $55,000 or $110,000 for the two projects. That money is owned by Borrego and is held by the town for decommissioning. Now, Borrego has sold the project to someone else. So we have to get either that new company to give us $110,000 and then give Borrego back their 110, or we have to do a legal document that they assign that money to the town.
Transfer.
But right now, it's kinda in limbo, and this has just all come to light. It's again, all this stuff is really new, so once we get through this one, we can do that. Now, one or two of the other solar projects have been sold as well, I believe. So Seaboard has been sold.
Should we send out the old generic letter?
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
everybody,
Get a lot of
We gotta get
people
through this
signed
one
up.
first. This
you're
is
gonna use that as an example?
the example, this is an easy one, because we are, you
Yeah.
know, first off, they need us, and the other thing is, it's right, this just happened. So we kinda have a lot of leverage there, so we haven't signed off. But when we signed off, see, we're not supposed to give the license to generate until they've done everything.
Correct.
And last March, they came in March and they asked us, February 24th, they actually asked us to allow them to they wanted us to give us a certificate generate because they couldn't stabilize the soil and everything else. And they said they'd have everything done. They've not done that. They've not done what they said they were gonna do.
So Tom, that was February 24th of like a year and a half ago?
2017.
Wow.
And they were supposed to have this thing completed and then they sold it, so.
Is there
That's,
any
that's
leverage?
very concerning.
It is concerning, so I personally don't think we should be giving licenses to generate until everything is complete.
Right.
And actually, if you read the new bylaw states that we can't do it.
Right.
There's no opportunity to give a waiver. So moving forward, again, we'll have to just deal with this as we go. Bill's working with us. We do have to pay him. Borrego has to pay him, through us. But they have not closed out their project. They have not given us the certificate from the Conservation Commission saying they've taken it off their deed. They've not given us a lot of these things.
And this is the company that has two other projects in town, correct?
One other project.
One other project.
One other project, the one up there now. So I think, and they've sold that project too. You know, they did notify the town. We didn't think they had, but they did notify
Yeah.
the town.
Could we
We-
put a, go ahead, Tom.
No, you go.
Could we put a deadline on them getting up to speed on where they should be with the information?
On this one, these two projects, the two Gardner Road projects? Yeah, we can. I think I asked him to come to the meeting tonight, and he had prior commitments.
Yeah, I see that.
And so, that's right, and so it's good to, you guys
Right.
know. So, and he can't come to the 11th meeting, so you want me to ask him to come to the February 5th, August 5th?
It's not even so much them coming, it's just getting, you know, their gears in motion here,
Yeah.
getting
Right.
going.
When we interrupted each other, what I was gonna say was we have to develop a discipline that if we, for instance, give a certificate operation prior to them doing the last few things. We've gotta develop a discipline where we have a punch list, and there's an activity and a date that they commit to complete it. And there might be 3 or 4 of those things. And I'm comfortable giving a certificate of operation. When you read the punch list, they write down exactly what they're gonna do, when they're gonna do it by, how much money they're gonna expend. And you update that, and actually that should be some of Bill's job, to update that, and they have to earn their way out of that. They have to spend that money.
But didn't Tom just say we're no longer able to give them that said waiver?
I don't think we can give a waiver based on the new bylaw. They have to be
Well-
100% it says that they have to have all their plantings, the land stabilized and be 100% complete before certificate to generate is issued.
Yeah, but there's oftentimes a certificate for generation is requested in January and the ground's frozen, and they're not gonna plant those things. So do you deprive them of income until plant season?
Can you put a time limit on that temporary?
Well, we can do anything we want, yeah. We could even ask, we could probably ask for, give us a deposit,
Yeah.
give us a.
We did that with Seaboard. We asked for $17,500,
Right.
and we said, give us that money, because if you don't do it, we're gonna do it.
This just got kinda lost in the shuffle, I think.
So I guess the first step is to clarify what the bylaw's intention is, and if we can even give that waiver.
I'm not sure we can or not. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to ask an attorney. It doesn't say any, other places in the general bylaw and the zoning bylaw, it says when we can give a waiver. It does not say in that bylaw that we can give a waiver. So it just says that we can't give a waiver until everything is complete. So, I don't
But
know.
like I say, if it's Christmas, they're
Right.
not gonna be planting plants.
I totally agree.
So you have to, if you give, you have to get something in
Yeah.
return.
Right.
I just
You have
want
to get some
I
commitments,
just want
cash.
this
Right.
question answered first before
Well,
we even
money
waste time going that way.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a waste of time. I think it's the way you have to do business.
Well, I certainly wouldn't do it for Borrego personally, because this Borrego project, they went out there, they started the project before they did any of the due diligence before they were supposed to start. And then when we told them to spot, they just completely ignored a cease and desist order and just continued the work until, and then on this project, they were supposed to do all these things. They knew the things they were supposed to be done. You've read the emails. Oh, I didn't know we had anything to do. And Bill goes, well, you did all these things you have to be done, So at least with Borrego so far, it's just, they don't seem to wanna, they want us to help them, but they don't wanna help us. So I'm not inclined to help them anymore.
I mean, I would,
That's
if we
my
set,
personal
if we
opinion,
set a
so.
deadline, what type of recourse?
We can,
You can set more than a deadline. You can take cash.
no, but we can,
You can file?
we can, and that's what we're gonna have to decide on the Seaboard place up on Waynesville Road. We can, vote to rescind their certificate to generate. And that question about how we go about and do that, and what does it cost, and what legal remedies are there, I haven't even started to work on yet. I'll start that probably in a couple weeks, cause we have to first off call National Grid, and I have my system on there, and I have a guy that I work with up there, at least he'll be able to tell me maybe who to talk to.
You open your throat a switch.
Yeah, no,
No, I meant that's what you're doing. You're stopping their income.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
And
And if you s-
that's
That
what
hurts.
you wanna do.
That
You wanna
hurts.
get their attention.
Right, but again, that's a pretty drastic measure, and certainly this board would want legal guidance on that
Yeah,
for you to take a
yes.
draft. So to answer your question, should we give them a deadline? Personally, I like to try to work with them first and see how that's why I like to see them in front of us and say, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna lie to us right to our face, or what are you gonna do it, and when? And give them the opportunity to do it before trying to put the hammer down, because there may be some reason why they can't do a particular thing that we're just not aware of.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
with
so
you.
I think let's
Give them that
try this off.
courtesy anyway.
Yeah, give the courtesy, we have to work
Absolutely.
together. That's my opinion, that's how I think we should proceed with it, so ask them to the
Sounds good.
August meeting. And we'll see they come, or present something in writing to us, and in the meantime, Bill, I'm sure, will be working on it, on that, cause he's still employed by the town to finish this project through,
Yeah.
so. And just like in the Williamsville Road project, you know, he's been done doing all the work, so we have to decide who we wanna work with on that project. And we can address that when that comes up.
We have to be strong, you know, we have to be a board that is willing to, if we give them something like 2 or 3 months of operation at, I don't know how much dollars a month it is, how many dollars a month it is, but it's probably a pretty big number. And, we've gotta get something in return.
That's a pretty drastic, you shut their money off, they're gonna be,
They're gonna
Well,
be knocking on your door.
But you can write a punch list and it's $10,000 for this and $5,000 for that and $20,000 for that.
But
and say,
sometimes just even giving them that letter saying we're heading to that direction gets their wheels moving.
yeah, but we have to be prepared to know we can move in that direction.
Well, exactly,
Right.
and that's where, and that's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
You wanna talk to the attorneys first.
You really don't wanna hit them with the stick, you just wanna
Yeah.
wave the stick around.
yeah, but you wanna have your,
But you can go down that punch list and say, all right, you put the equivalent of that money in surety.
I'm sure they wanna.
And when you check off that item, if it's $10,000 item, we'll give you $10,000 back.
And a lot of it's not their fault necessarily, I mean, it is their responsibility, but that was in 2017 and no one's asked any questions until
Yeah,
recently,
no
so-
one's gonna spend any money unless you make them.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not their,
exactly.
so from that point of view, is saying, you know, you need to do this now, well, why didn't you tell me that 6 months ago, you know?
Right.
That's fair, you know, just try to be polite
Yeah.
and see how.
No, I totally agree with you,
Yeah.
but I just wanna know what our next step possibly could be.
Yeah,
If, you know.
I've gotta find that out for a lot
Yeah.
of different reasons, and I will. Can we always say we can, but legally, can we
Yeah.
suspend their license to generate?
That's when we have to sit down with the lawyers and say, here's what can we and what can we not do.
Well, the person you have to talk to is National Grid, because they're the ones that are gonna do it.
Right.
And they're gonna say, hell no, you can't do
Yeah,
that.
we're not
Give
doing
up.
that.
No, it's just as if something broke. If their transformer rectifier breaks,
Right.
power stops.
Oh, I know, but if we stop it,
Well, I know, but it
we
can be
can't,
stopped,
we
is my
can't
point.
stop it, National Grid has to pull the switch.
Well, all right, that's true, but I mean, it's not like,
Legally.
oh, you can't stop generating.
Oh, no, I know that, yeah,
So you want one of us to go out and pull the switch?
yeah.
No.
Go to jail. Okay, so, we're a little bit behind,
As usual.
no, we're not staying late,
Oh, this isn't late yet?
not yet, no, this is getting late, cause we said 9 o'clock.
Well, he
but-
says 4:30, I get up to 5, so.
We had Ryan come in, which wasn't on the time schedule, so we got extra. So the last item on the agenda is, our goals for 2019. Everyone's gonna make a list, and Patty's gonna write the list down. And we're gonna see if we can make a list of things that we wanna do. If we don't wanna, or just, we just wanna sit here and take things as they come. So, who wants to start? Who's got a list?
I got a list. Anybody else
Did
got a
you
list?
check it twice?
I've checked it twice.
I brought
I've
my
even
list.
checked it for spelling.
Oh,
Awesome.
And you don't have to write anything down, I'll give you the list.
wow.
Did you send us an email with that list?
No, I didn't. I
You
didn't
can't.
finish it until today and, oh,
Open
I
meeting
could've.
law complaints.
No, I could've. We're not deliberating it, it's just a list.
Yes, tonight is just to make a list of what we're gonna do next,
For
in
next
August.
year?
There's, what things you'd like to do, I mean,
Oh,
there's
you know
certain,
what? We never asked Ryan about the monthly report thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
that's
I
right.
broke that.
oh yeah.
We'll just give them our meeting minutes.
Can that be
He didn't ask us.
yeah, just send them the meeting minutes and see if that's acceptable, right?
I think that's the best way to go.
Well, what he does is he takes each piece and he puts it in the the monthly town one. I don't know if you've seen the ones that he's done already.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
So he probably wouldn't go through the meeting minutes.
What is
He
this, the new
wants-
website thing?
No, it's a new administrator thing.
Well,
The
Treasurer.
clerk from the minutes, because I seen what you're talking about, and I would think the clerk from the minutes should be able to put something together.
She did.
She did.
who's
She
she?
did.
She, Patty did.
I'm your clerk.
And she gave it to me,
Well, I'm
and I
just saying,
found it
because I don't
today.
know what's going on going forward,
Right.
Yeah.
but
I kind of took the highlights of what we did
Yeah.
in June
Can I see that after, Tom?
Yeah, you see it now. Oh, you want copies?
I can't.
No. I mean,
It's
Might
about
be a-
transparency, I think,
Yeah.
and,
Please.
Nothing's better than reading the meeting minutes, watching the video.
but that's not what he's looking for. I think
No.
he's
Yeah,
looking
but
for
when you-
big
you're
when
looking
you
for
take-
bullet
strokes.
points,
What would be the bullet points from tonight?
Right here.
the agenda.
We're getting new emails.
Yep.
Yeah, basically the agenda.
Basically what happened.
And that's all I did. I
Well,
took
the
the
agenda
last.
isn't what happened, the meeting minutes are what happened.
Correct, correct.
The agenda
Here's
is.
the problem I see. We talked about hiring a clerk, we talked about Borrego, we talked about 5 topics, and he wants 2 of the 5, for instance, as an example. Just bullet. Well, people stop there.
But we don't know
and
who
they-
the audience is, though. You don't. I don't even know.
It doesn't matter who the audience is. The audience reads that and says, oh, that's what the planning board's doing. And then they find out later that, oh, there were 3 or 4 other topics discussed. They never told me about that one.
Well, why don't I do this? I'll send Ryan an email and ask him to expand on what he would like to see.
That
And
sounds
I'll
good.
copy everyone on it,
All right.
and then he can.
As an alternate to that,
Okay.
he puts in his report the electronic link to our meeting minutes.
I think Patty's right.
Well,
I
no,
don't think he's
because
looking for
I
that.
think it gets printed out.
Yeah.
No, it's on the new web.
Well, yeah,
Just
but they also print it out, so if you can't put the link.
Well, you can say meeting minutes.
But I mean, is that more or less like a copy of the meeting minutes? Just
Yes,
one
the
bullet?
highlights, and it's all meeting. It's if we had 3 meetings this month, I've taken the highlights, all our wins, or basically all the big projects that we discussed, or things that were decisions were made. We did a special permit, or we did the big
Yeah.
decision for. I mean, those to me are things that. I think Ryan's issue is people go, what the heck does the planning board do? What does the building department clerk do all day? She says she's so busy, but what does she do? So for there, I said I issued, or we as a building department issued, 47 building permits, 13 electric. We took in this many fees for the values of this, and then I organized the A&R draw, for example.
But wouldn't the meeting minutes, and I kind of agree, we talked about these items here, and this was our decision at the end of the meeting, I kinda like that.
But he's not gonna take that because
You won't
you've
take all that
got-
information?
No.
No?
Well,
Let's just let Brian, let's not speculate what he wants.
Right,
Let's just ask
right.
him what he wants, and he can answer it and let everyone know. And we can decide
That
from
sounds
there.
good,
He sent us a template, and this is what the template was. So I
Oh.
followed the template
okay.
because I didn't.
can you send us the template?
Yeah.
I just get stuck in a pile of household bills and I go, what's this thing all
What the
about?
heck is this thing?
Yeah, I suppose.
But I thought it was a good idea because I think people say, "What does that planning board do for me?"
I didn't know he has something published every month on
I believe this is a new concept.
Yes, he
Uh,
does for himself,
It's
and
with
then
the new
he's
website.
been incorporating the other departments. Like I'm sure Travis had to do the same thing for him. So someone's not going to read 4 pages of planning board minutes. They're going to read 4 pages of this is the department.
So would it be better to put it forward saying that we talked about solar projects at these locations and then we talked about this, and this?
Yeah, basically a.
It's sending bullets.
That's it. That's what this
That's kinda
is.
what you're saying there.
Because even for June, I'll just read it. We completed 7. Well, this is what I did. I mostly did this as a clerk for you guys, because I didn't have permission yet to speak for you guys. So we selected a local MRPC representative, and I filled out the paperwork and sent that in. I did a lot of preparation for the bylaw changes. I went to the town meeting.
And that's the template that he sent you?
And this is just for my clerk work, but you guys would have to do your own. The planning board.
The clerk will do it. Oh, we don't have a clerk.
Well, meeting minutes might be boring, but there are legal foundations.
Well, he's not saying take the minutes away.
Maybe for full disclosure, Tom, at the bottom you could just put
Put a link.
for a more detailed list, please check out monthly meeting minutes or
Does he
so
do
and so.
And just do
Hey.
bullets on the official one.
Excuse me, one
With
second,
everything.
Ed?
I think he's looking for, like an executive management report, And what he wants to do is just keep a pulse on what all the boards are doing. He's no way a micromanager, and I don't think he wants to read the detail of minutes that, each board would put out. I think he's looking for, if somebody comes to him and say, where's the planning board working on, he could look at those bullet points and say, at the last meeting, here's the 3 most important things. I don't think he's looking for a minuscule detail. I think he's just looking for an overview of what the board is doing
Okay.
from a town administrator concept of being the top executive in the town.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think he's the audience. The audience is posted on the website.
I think we just
So
gotta
the
ask
audience
Ryan.
is the town.
Yeah.
So I think we
Yeah.
need to ask Ryan.
That's why I said that.
The audience is the town.
What is this exactly, what does he want? And he wants the goals where we're going forward, which is what we're talking about now.
There you go.
Segue into that. Tom, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna read them real quick. This was a brain, this was a brain dump, and it's not expressed as goals, but any one of them could be turned into goals. Code and a conduct of ethic, a code of conduct and ethics. Should we adopt one? Planning board clerk, administrative assistant, get one and move it into the position and get it to work. Enforcement by the planning board, zoning bylaws and certain general bylaws. The master plan, return to the master plan and look at our progress to date and what we have to do to keep it moving. Branding Hubbardston, match the master plan to what this survey and whatnot created or defined as what is Hubbardston. Families, homes, schools, outdoor activities, open space, related resources.
Pot dealers.
Growth assessment. You mentioned earlier how pressure is coming from like Westminster or Rutland or perhaps Athol Templeton area, probably not so much, but what are a 10-year review of key factors such as building permits, school enrollment, et cetera, to gain insight into the growth pressures and response for the same towns listed above. Now, the towns listed above, I made a mistake, they're actually listed below. Westminster, Princeton, Rutland, Barry, Phillipston, Templeton, Gardner, Ashburnham. This information is really pretty available. It's always in their annual reports. So we could get this information from other places. Basically, it's how should Hubbardston respond to growth pressure?
That's a good one.
Tax revenue review. During the candidates night, I heard somebody say we get something from commercial industrial and somebody else say we don't get it from commercial industrial, and it was confusing. These are numbers. We ought to be able to put them down on a piece of paper. So a 10-year review of key factors and trends comparing comparisons of neighboring towns, I just said them, commercial, industrial, personal property, real estate. Where is the revenue coming from? As we move into commercial development, Northborough put out a very nice document about what's a good way to do commercial development and what's the poor way to do commercial development. And I will share that with you. It's a slideshow kind of a thing.
That came up with one of the gentlemen at the candidates night, I believe, talked about Northborough, right?
I don't know that. This came up probably a year and a half ago. I think I sent some of it around to the last board we had. And a town org chart, with all due respect to the town org chart, it was put together and the planning board wasn't on it.
Oh.
So, we need to work on that. Gmail accounts
We already
and
talked about that.
the planning board filing system. We talked about that. Planning board money management in coordination with other boards. You're doing that one, Tom.
Yeah.
There's something about capital planning here. There's some kind of a capital planning meeting that I was invited to, and I don't know why I was invited, and I meant to talk to Ryan about it, but next time. And then Business Development Committee. There's a planning board representative open space on it, and, I'd like to volunteer for that. That's my list.
That's your list?
There it is.
That was a long
Be kind enough to email that to
Yes,
us?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Can I steal a couple, because a couple of things I was gonna say you already got on there.
Too bad, Bill.
See, you should ask me first.
This is generic stuff.
I know, it's
Yeah.
just, no, because one of the things I was thinking about was
Yeah.
the,
Clear, please.
thank you.
So you're next, Bill.
That's what I figured.
You can read mine.
I can? Well, thank you.
Is this the way you did your homework?
No, I just took it. No, no, I do have questions about the enforcement. How far can you go? I'd like to learn all that. I've read up on a lot of the planning board laws, but I'd like to learn a little more. We did talk about updating our, master plan. Maybe redoing it and updating it with today, cause it's been, well, Ed said earlier, he did it in 89,
88.
Wow.
88.
We're a year and a half into that.
Right.
Just so I'll give you an update on the master plan where we are. We've done the economic development portion of it through grant from MRPC.
Okay,
We've done the open space, but we haven't done it. The open space committee
okay.
has done the open space plan. And then we did the housing chapter. We already
Right.
did the housing chapter. We had a guy named Dick
Cool.
Heaton here that did the housing chapter. So which chapter would you like to do, focus on?
I don't know.
There's 9 chapters.
Let me get a little more information on it to read, and I can really,
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to get involved.
Yeah. Or the other thing we can do, well, we can talk about that when we talk about these
Okay.
things separately, yeah.
And one of the things I talked about at the last meeting was the electronic update and interaction for the board and also with the rest of the other boards, and the more working together, I think that's really
That's a good
important, cause being on other boards, I've seen over the last many years where nobody knows what the other one's doing or what's going on. We don't know that there's a building permit issue over here, if you're on this board over here, and you don't know until you find out later, and I think if we can really get into the electronic age, we could get up to the point we could really help each other out a lot.
I agree, 'cause they're so tied, conservation, board of health, building and
It's
planning
tough.
all
Right.
are.
I see that paper.
Being on the zoning board of appeals, I've been on that board for many years, we would get a letter from the building inspector's office, but he wouldn't come to our meetings, so we really wouldn't get the feeling of what his problem was with it. So it's hard to make a good decision. I think if everybody is up on the same page and communicating, I think that's the most important thing we can do.
That'd be a good thing to run by Ryan, cause he's all for that, so.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
he's-
mentioned it to him a couple times, but he says right now we're at
Yeah,
such a
hey,
slow
We
slow
have to work,
pace.
he's only been here, it's amazing, he's only
Right.
been here a
Have
few
you,
months.
one of the things that you guys might wanna put on that FY19 thing, and this is really tough, cause I know, but is attending his staff meetings. I get a lot out of his staff meetings, cause you go to them, right, Craig? Oh, you don't go, Travis just goes?
I didn't know they haven't,
Yeah.
I've never been invited.
Well, is that something he could share with us, or you could, or?
Yeah, I can definitely send it to you.
Yeah. Good, what else, anything else?
I think that's about it. I was just,
So what I got out of that is, one of the things, major things, master plan, I'm trying to see, like Tom has the same thing, so the main things Tom had was, not the main things, some things, Tom had master plan,
I had two other
the
things,
email as well. I can't read my own handwriting.
I'll give you the whole list.
Enforcement, that's another big thing,
Give you the whole
Yes.
list.
as well as all the things you all both answered, but those 3 things seem to be what you two were both saying.
I'm is very big on the enforcement.
Enforcement,
Yeah.
okay, and enforcement, another vote for, so we're kinda like making a list here and see
Yeah.
where everyone stands.
Right.
And say, if we all say like enforcement's our number 1 thing, well, maybe that's what we should focus on. If it's the master plan's the number 1 thing, well, we should focus on that. So it's kinda trying to get a sense of where everyone wants to go with stuff.
do you think after, if I can throw it out there, after, do you think another survey would help to get the feel, or is that waste of time and money?
I think that's, I know some people just like the survey, but, I don't know.
Do you think people are honest with that?
No,
Or do you
because
think
they
everybody's
didn't, I
checking
think they were
boxes?
dead wrong, because they didn't like the planning board.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just
Well,
kidding. No, I'm just joking.
No, I think
I don't know.
I think surveys are okay. What you're looking for is what changes. So we compared the, what was it, 1988 survey
Survey.
results with the latest survey results. And not that they're absolutely correct, but if there was a big change in people's outlook, then you can detect it.
Right.
And if I recall correctly, we didn't find a big change.
No. 75% of the questions are exactly the same
Mm-hmm.
as the 1980 one,
Mm-hmm.
or some very close variation. So,
Right.
and when we did the analysis of it, it was like, wow, nothing's really changed.
Same feelings.
People, the same number of people, almost identical percentage-wise, wanted to keep the rural character of the
Mhm.
town, you know, and those things. So, the other thing, if you wanted, I'm not doing another one. It's
Yeah,
it's,
that
it's
It was
a
just
lot
a
of
thought
work.
I had, that's all.
That's
We
a-
worked for 2 months, 3
Really?
months on it.
That was a lot of work compiling it, because you had you had to download. A lot of people answered that Survey Monkey online, but we had I think 150 or even more than
Paper.
that paper ones I had to enter
Wow.
individually.
Cause we did the Main Street one and that was all online.
Yeah, I know.
Well, but you don't get everybody.
Right.
yeah, we
that's
had
true.
we had like
We had them
100
posted around town, and
Okay.
we
Yeah.
really drove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout. Everyone.
We had a, what, 16%?
Yeah, Montechusett Regional, when I presented to them, they would say, "Well, that's a really good survey, and it's a really good percentage."
Oh, good.
So, I mean, we could do another one. I don't want.
It's just a thought.
I think
that's all.
there's another committee that's the school, through the school. I think they're thinking of doing a survey too. So.
Yeah, we could add to
There's
it.
a reason you only do this once every 10 years.
Yeah.
It's too much work.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's not that. It's people get surveyed out.
They don't
yeah.
wanna do it anymore.
And I actually had the data from the Open Space Committee,
Mhm.
which had done a survey 2 years before that, and some of the questions were, if not identical, very similar,
Mhm.
and the percentages didn't really change much. So,
Okay.
people move to this town because it's cheap. They have a lot of open space and they like the rural character. And I
Yep.
think in that order.
Right.
And they want
Around,
Dunkin' Donuts.
You know what?
I said, and they want Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
How can you drink?
Well,
Yeah, I don't like
that one really sticks in my craw.
The Dunkin' Donuts, yeah.
People, I mean, like even Jeff Williams, he says, "Oh, I want Dunkin' Donuts," and he's going to destroy the little businesses that sell coffee.
Okay, we're
It
not gonna
doesn't
get
make
into
sense
that.
to me.
Yeah, it's like, competition is good though,
Yeah.
keeps the prices down.
Well, anyways.
I want to double check for enforcement.
A double, okay,
How much do you need?
okay.
Quick check, double check.
Yeah,
Is that what you wanna,
that's what he learned.
focus
in
on
his,
too, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because just from listening to everybody, it seems like a lot of these special permits are sliding without following through with what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
So,
If you did it, have to give a special permit, if that, and I haven't been a part of that, so I don't know. What if you give them a time frame? If it's December and they wanna make money and in spring they'll do it, well, here's a 2, 3 months, 4 months. So when spring hits, you better get going,
Yeah.
otherwise you're gonna pull your permit.
yeah, well, that is actually not an untrue statement, except we could never get a permit pulled.
Ah, okay.
Like, I don't wanna go there with that guy, but there's a couple places that they never they never fulfilled all the special permit obligations, yet the building inspector just gave them an occupancy permit. My opinion, an occupancy permit shouldn't be given until the planning board has been signed off to everything on the thing.
Well, that's one of the things I like with the communication
Right.
aspect of everything. Everybody's on the same page.
Right, well, we're getting a new building inspector too, so I mean,
Right.
we've got a new town manager now, we're getting a new building inspector, we're getting a new planning clerk, so I mean,
So maybe
we have the
they'll pull it,
opportunity here. I mean, and I've listened to Ryan a lot, and he's kinda drummed it into me, that we're in a good place because there's a lot of changes, a lot of new people, a lot of things are moving around, so we need to take this opportunity to move the town collectively forward, and not backwards, but forwards,
Right.
and try to get a lot of these procedures in place, so we can move forward together instead of.
Right.
Okay, that's kinda where, and I'm maybe parroting a little bit what Ryan says, but I think he's 100% correct, so.
And he's 100% behind us. I think if we
Yeah.
come to him with a plan, he's behind us. If he's,
Mhm.
he has our back.
Right. Okay, is that, anything else you wanna work on, Craig?
give me a check for communication as well. I'm gonna
Okay.
spit that one out.
Okay, communication, okay,
What do you mean by that?
Just communication between all of us, obviously at the meeting, and between all the boards. You know, I guess with the public as well. Just-
okay. Are you happy with all these emails I've been sending everyone?
Yeah.
I
No,
think-
it's
I
going
think it's
I
to-
like being in the loop.
Yeah.
Okay, great,
And we
okay.
do the same thing in the Board of Health, everybody gets emailed everything. So, when I was in corrections, knowledge of one is knowledge of all.
Right.
We're all responsible to know all of that,
If you
so.
don't wanna read it, you don't have to, but if you can't say you weren't told. Okay, I guess I'm the last one. I made this list and presented a list in January, remember?
Oh,
But I still have the list. Earth removal permits, I have to write the annual report, which I've not done, but we really have to get up on the annual, the earth removal permits, the enforcement of those permits. We changed the bylaw, when did we change that, Tom? 2 years ago? Or, that was November.
June 16, we changed the dirty dirt law.
No, it was the November meeting. So we have to kinda get on track to make sure to try to get these people to comply with the earth removal permits and reclaiming, basically it's reclaiming their permits. And then I've also done some studying on that, about like these big gravel pits, and like we wanna fix them and redo them. But these gravel pits are providing some sort of special habitat for different animals, and I've actually got a call into someone from what's the company that does, the group that does,
RMI?
yeah, not RMI, no.
The other one.
The state,
DCR.
the one that does the endangered species, those people, I forget the name.
Oh, Mass Wildlife?
Wild, yeah.
The,
And they're saying-
the
giving-
Mencha law or
Yeah,
whatever?
they're saying, geez, some of these places, maybe we shouldn't
you're kidding.
redo. No, they're seriously looking at,
Spotted salamanders.
yeah, a lot of this stuff. So we just need to kind of focus in on, that, again, into enforcement, but gravel pits, which I've been kind of working on myself for a couple of years. The one gravel pit across from your place, what's the Bates pit, right? It was across from your facility. I talked to, they were moving a bunch of stuff in there a couple of weeks ago, and I stopped and talked to the guy, and Harper Farms is just sold all of his land on intersection Route 2.
He was over near Leominster,
Leominster.
Got the
Lunenburg.
Lunenburg farm
Right,
out
right.
there.
And
Yeah.
Steve Boucher, who owns that pit, and he are somehow connected business-wise, and he told his man that works for him, said Harper was gonna buy that property and turn it into a farm. So, but he has nothing's concrete, kinda semi rumor, and I know he told that to the people that live at the over 55 place. So something's gonna be happening there, hopefully soon. And the Marinellis, nothing's happened there. We have a real problem there, and this is the Board of Health. They've been illegally dumping stuff there. So again, when you say
Yeah.
communications between boards,
I didn't hear that.
we need
Yeah,
to.
300 tons of, wasn't it? 300
Yeah,
tons? of-
right, and I was up there 2 weeks ago. We walked, the town has a right of way, or the people of Massachusetts have a right of way across the pits into the,
That's the one up on Phillips, Pitcherville Road, right?
Pitcherville, right. We have a right of way over to the state forest. over there.
Right.
And we went for a walk up there with some people, some friends, and there's been more dumping.
Really?
Right, and we have to.
How'd they
No.
get in?
They still have a key to the gate,
Boy, we need
remember?
to
we
call
gave-
that key.
Yeah, the key is one thing.
So, how do you know what's being dumped there? Did somebody see it, or?
Well, you can see it, it's a freaking mountain.
It's quasi-construction debris.
Yeah.
Oh.
Could we put some cameras up there or
So
something, or?
have you been
Yeah.
documenting?
Well, we
The,
have pictures of it.
the
yeah.
300 tons is in their application.
Yeah, I remember
They said they were
that,
gonna
but
remove it.
since there's more, is there any photo?
Well, I mean, I see more tires and stuff. I mean, what was there, I'd have to take more pictures and compare them. It's just like, I just gotta make a note to get Keith.
Do we have a contact there? that
Actually, what we
can
have to do is
actually-
change the lock.
Or whatever.
Now, is that the gate the town uses?
Yeah.
Oh.
See, they have a
It's
right
the
of way
town-owned
across that
gate.
land. They own the land there, and they have a right of way across it. And they were trying to sell the land in the town.
So, if we change the lock, they can't get in there.
Right.
That's right.
It's easy enough.
You think so?
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, anyway, that's something we have to work on. I did talk to, this is getting a little bit more, sorry Patty was going a little late. I talked to the people from the Cataistos, and they said they're gonna try to do something this fall, doing that. And the only other one the big one is the Fletchers that own all that stuff on the south side of Pitcherville.
Mhm.
I think there's illegal dumping in there too.
I've not been in there, so.
was in the Board of Health meeting minutes once.
Yeah. Okay, so enforcement, we get another vote for enforcement, so everyone is happy with enforcement, and the master plan, I think we should work on it. Maybe one idea is to just hire a company to do it, and just put an article on the town meeting warrant, unless we could get someone, maybe Francois would like to do that. Let me see.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be planning board authored.
No.
Any volunteer can
Yeah.
step forward, take a chapter.
The KP Law issue with the town pit, we have to address this year. The annual report, I did that already.
KP law issue with the town.
The town, there's a question, there's not a question of ownership.
No, there's no
There's-
question.
There's no question, but we need to get a clear title to it through KP Law, so. The solar bylaw, we did that up, that was one of the things, the marijuana bylaw, look at my list, we did all that,
Busy.
yeah. The noise bylaw, this is something carryover from Sid,
What is it called?
noise bylaw,
Oh, okay.
and again, Board of Health used to have a noise bylaw, but they
Mhm.
don't anymore. Do we
We
want,
don't anymore?
no,
Really?
do we wanna tackle that, or do you wanna?
Yeah, because I hate lawnmower noise.
Well,
So no more lawn boring, you
No
want?
more lawnmower, everybody has to do it
well,
on
there's
a,
more,
on a
more to go with
Saturday
that.
afternoon between.
I have a battery lawnmower.
There you go, Tom,
Nice
that's
and
even
quiet.
better.
I don't like batteries, no.
So that's just if we wanna get into that,
Well, in the past here in town, there's been numerous complaints, and ones I dealt with years ago,
yeah,
with, motorized ATVs and things like that, and animals. You know, there was a lot of problems. They ended up going through the court system. The public health got involved with the noise pollution and all of that, and it never ever got settled.
Really?
So right now, if I have horses and you have motorcycles next door and you get up at 7 in the morning and start running them all day, there's nothing to help you.
yeah. So I don't know if we wanna tackle that, that's someone's
Put
really.
it on the list.
It's on the list, but someone would have to take that and just research it, I mean, and
I think
figure out.
Vince laid down some foundation, but he
Yeah, I
hadn't
was
never
gonna say.
presented
He
it.
did.
Yeah, I know.
Did
We have to
great.
have Vince back
He's coming next
and
week.
unload his head a little bit.
Yeah. So if anyone wanna take that one on,
Vince.
yeah. And then, I think that's, the other thing I wanted to do was get our Facebook page up. I talked to Ryan a little bit about that, or not Ryan, Laurie, a little about that.
What is that?
I was gonna start a planning board Facebook page and
They
basically.
paint our faces and put it on the book.
Yeah.
Why is that a good idea?
Just to put up there, we had a planning board meeting tonight and we're doing the
We got
emails.
a video of it.
I know, but a lot of people don't watch videos, don't have time to watch them, so let's try to be as much open and communicative
It's only
to
been
people.
3 hours. I don't know
I know. we're
why
done
they
with-
wouldn't sit through that.
I told Patty 9:15, so we'll make this, Patty can write up this list?
Yeah, I
And-
just need a copy of yours,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna
I
send me a
will
copy.
electronically mail it around.
Is there
And
anything?
Thank you.
I'll have that ready for the 11th meeting, and then you guys can all approve it before I send it to Ryan. That way we're all on
Which-
board with
which
the,
one?
The goals.
Oh, the goals, okay.
How's that sound?
Good. Anyone have anything else? Anything else?
I'll make a copy of it then if that's all
Make a
right.
motion to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, wait a minute. Did
Wait
I
a
do
minute.
better this time, or am I okay?
We have to say goodnight to
Oh, Mrs. Calabash.
Mrs. Calabash, wherever she is.
Yes.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.